Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Lights Camera Discussion podcast, and we're here with part two of our Oscar special. If you watched our part one or listened to our part one, you will know that we went through quite a lot of things and ended up running a little bit over. So we are now catching up in this part two here. So we will be going through Best Supporting Actor, Best Actress, Best Actor, Best Director, and then finally Best Picture. Guys, are we excited for part two? We enjoying? Do we enjoy last time as well?
Oh, absolutely. Looking forward to a more positive episode with a little bit of negativity probably in this one, but not as much rage as there was yesterday.
Yeah, I think we can calm down for today.
Yeah, perfect. That's good. I was getting a bit scared for your blood pressure, so yes, I'm glad we can chill out this time. Right, why don't we just get started? Get straight into it. So obviously the last time we were going to do this in the last episode, sorry, but we didn't have time. So the category we're going to be talking about just now is Best Supporting Actor. So the nominees in the Best Supporting Actor category are Robert De Niro for Killers of the Flower Moon, Robert Downey Jr. for Oppenheimer, Ryan Gosling for Barbie, Sterling K. Brown for American Fiction, and Mark Ruffalo for Poor Things. We spoke about all these ones apart from American Fiction, right? I think that's the first time we'll be talking about that one.
Yeah,
so
right.
I won't go through synopsis of the other ones, but we'll get to American Fiction. I certainly can. But firstly, obviously, Robert De Niro, Killers of the Flower Moon. Do you want to start us off with this one then, Collie?
Yeah, absolutely. So I believe this is the 10th time that De Niro and Scorsese have worked together. And I just think like they just work in so much synergy and stuff that De Niro just does his best work with Scorsese. I think he's so foreboding in this, and he's very sinister in that, like behind the scenes, while also trying to be friends with the Osage, and they trust him for a long period during this film. So just a bit of context: he's playing William Hale or King, William King Hale, who's the uncle of DiCaprio's character. And it's just kind of behind the scenes. Obviously, he pulls all the strings to try and seize the money that the Osage have got through the oil on the land and stuff. Certain scenes, obviously, we talked about the cinematography of him when he's burning the fields yesterday, and for me, because some of the standouts were the scenes near the end of the film where they're both in prison and he's talking to DiCaprio through the bars and pretty much telling him that he can't betray him and stuff like that. It's their family at the end of the day, and they were supposed to be working together. So yeah, it's interesting and it's different to see De Niro play a completely villainous character. Obviously, in stuff like Casino and that, he's the protagonist, but he's obviously a mob type guy. So he's like an anti-hero, I guess you could kind of say. Whereas this, he's an outright bad guy antagonist. So yeah, it was different. It was a long time probably since you've seen him in a role like this, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought he was great. In terms of being nominated for this, I think it's a very, very deserving nomination. Todd, what did you think?
Yeah, like just to pick up where you left off, I think sometimes when people like De Niro have been in the industry for so long and, you start to look and think like, is this sort of a legacy nomination? I get he nailed it. And I think he played that absolute bastard incredibly well. I think The Wedding was where I sort of sat up and was like, here he is type thing, where it's this like really joyous occasion and he's apparently this like sort of, he's looking after everybody, he's trying to be the good guy. And even when he's like, he's talking to the woman who's like inconsolable, he's not actually like supporting her, he's not actually being friendly. It's that horrible sort of, like I said, pulling the strings is the best way to describe it. You can see the entire time, and I think this is why his performance was so good, because he can play a bastard, like you say. We've seen him do it before, and even in films like, even going as far back as like Taxi Driver and stuff, where he's got that sort of something ticking on in his head. You see this through the whole film, the cogs turning, and that was the bit where I was just like, yeah, this guy isn't one to be fucked with. But I think, yeah, you covered it, and because obviously DiCaprio, and I know we'll talk about him later, but it's one of the first roles I can think of off the top of my head where he's not that charismatic sort of leader, and like the person who's telling him what to do, and obviously, like I say, pulling the strings is De Niro, and he does it so well. And the chemistry between them two, or sort of lack of the power struggle between them, it was phenomenal. It was absolutely brilliant. So yeah, I think it's completely deserved, and in with a shout, definitely. Massey?
Yeah, I completely agree. I think he kind of sets the tone, doesn't he, when he first sees or when he first meets with Leo in his house, and he's sort of like, you can kind of tell that he seems like on the face of it he's quite care or not caring, but like he obviously it looks like he's trying to think the best for his family, but he's actually kind of, there's loads of stuff going on underneath that we don't know until obviously further on and stuff. I think the manipulation that he plays is really, really good, and for me is one of the best parts of the film. We'll talk about the film obviously in a bit more general later on, but I think he's one of the best parts of it. Yeah, it's kind of, it's a lot. It's quite a subtle performance as well in some of the stuff that he does. Like as I say, it's not right at the front as to it clears what he's doing and things, but yeah, there's that subtle power that he plays, which I thought was really quite interesting for Robert De Niro performance there.
The paddle scene was a standout for me, obviously, as well. That was quite fun.
Yes.
And then the Masonic Lodge with the big panel, good stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's kind of tough to say much more, because I think you guys have kind of absolutely nailed it there. Did you guys have anything else to say about Robert De Niro there at all? Are you happy enough with?
Yeah, no, it's fine. It's fine by me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, I don't want to get too far into the film side of it, because I know we'll be talking about the film.
We're only focusing on the acting performances. So yeah. I'm fine to move on.
Perfect. Okay, so the next one is Robert Downey Jr. in Oppenheimer. So, Todd, do you want to start us off with Mr. Downey?
Yeah, so I think it's his best performance that he's ever put in, and that's saying something. When I know everybody talks about the MCU and comic book films and comic book fatigue and stuff. He was never better than when he was Iron Man. Like he was cast as that character. He was Tony Stark all over, and this just blew it out of the water. I think in those scenes, and I know we talked about the cinematography and stuff, and how that helped the courtroom drama side of things, and how that helped the sort of the conversations. But that could still be dry as sticks. That could be like, if you don't cast the right actor in that, it could absolutely kill the film. Where this was it was a masterclass in sort of stillness, I think is the only way I could describe it. I don't know if there's another word for that, but in moments like where he's asking about the conversation between Einstein and Oppenheimer, that for me was sort of the pinnacle of this for him, because there's the big moments obviously where like he's sort of slowly finding out that it's all unraveling and he's trying to kind of keep a grip on everything going on. That was great, but like I say, it was the still moments, it was the moments where he knew he was fucked, or certainly suspected that he was, but still managed to sort of keep that core, that sort of I'm chuffed that was it Shane Black did Iron Man, or was that just Iron Man 3?
3.
Who did?
Favreau.
John Favreau did one. He did 1 and 2.
John Favreau. That they took the gamble on him, whether that was Favreau, Kevin Feige, whoever. That they took the gamble on him, because I think it's that trajectory. Do you know what I mean? It's led to that path where they've gone like, he is a guy who can do it, and I just think it's going to be hard to look past him for it. Obviously, we'll get to like who we want to win and who we think will win, but I just think in terms of an Oscar-winning performance, where yes, he has those big moments in front of the crowd, where he has the big moments with his aid and stuff like that. It's the still bits for me that really, really take it. I think if we come to you, Massey, because I know somebody else will want to speak as much on Oppenheimer as they possibly can. So, what do you reckon?
Colin, you can certainly take it away. I know you want to talk about Oppenheimer.
Oh no, on you go.
Are you sure? Okay. Yeah. Well, I'll be quick. I'll pass the torch to yourself very quickly. So, one of the things for me as well was it's similar to De Niro. It's like the kind of what's happening behind the eyes sort of thing. And and I just love the fact that he's just a little hater. Like he's so like he's so paranoid that folk are talking about him, and the whole obviously Oppenheimer and Einstein chat. He's just standing at the back, just thinking, "What are they saying about me?" And it's quite egotistical as well to think that they're always talking about him. Spoiler, they're not. But I just think that he plays that so well, and I think you're right. I think Iron Man kind of comes into it as well, because that sort of the ego side of it that he played for what 10, 15 years as Iron Man. I think helped with that side of his performance as Strauss in Oppenheimer as well. But yeah, it's a absolutely phenomenal performance. And yeah, I'll kind of pass over to our Oppenheimer expert here to
I'm
take
not
it
an
away.
Oppenheimer expert. I 5 times in the cinema, and at least that I'm out at home as well.
J. Robert Collenheimer.
Very good, very good. But yeah, like you said, Todd, like this is the performance of his career, I would say, for Robert Downey Jr. So some of my favorite scenes are the kind of the non-verbal ones. Even it's, for example, when he's embarrassed in front of, they're talking about, is it the Norwegian or Scandinavian isotopes and stuff like that, and Oppenheimer says this line about, as useful as making a bomb as a sandwich or something like that, and the camera just shows Strauss just sitting back, like not saying a word, no like emotion on his face, but you can just tell that he's fizzing. And yeah, it's just the ego behind him, and as the story goes and goes and goes, you learn about that, and the pinnacle of it for me is when he's ranting and raving to Alden Ehrenreich, guy who played Han Solo, who's a fictional character. I don't know if you know that he's not based on somebody real. He's a fictional aid to Strauss, just to kind of enable that conversations and that. But yeah, when he's ranting and raving, he's saying, Oppenheimer was the most important man in the world at some point, and he wanted to keep a hold of that. And then obviously when you find out that it was him that orchestrated giving the files to Borden, and all that kind of like, he is the antagonist of the film, but it's not fully revealed as to. It's not only is he like got a personal dislike for Oppenheimer, but he just wanted to absolutely decimate him and embarrass him. And then you can kind of see that from when he interviews him for the Post. And Oppenheimer is very arrogant in the scene and stuff like that. He's just like, good commute, and that's why I'm considering it and stuff. But it's when he's like, did you ever consider studying engineering? And he's like, and then what is he says something about his father being a shoe salesman or whatever.
It's a lowly shoemaker or something, isn't it?
Yeah. So Oppenheimer says, Louis Strauss at one point was a lowly a shoe salesman, and he was like, just a shoe salesman. So obviously he took like irk with the fact that he called him a lowly one. But yeah, it's just he's a shoe in for me. I'll just say it now, shoe in for me for the award. And if he doesn't win it, I'll be disappointed. But yeah, just a performance of his career from one of my favorite actors, and a lot of that is from the MCU. Like, I'm not going to deny that. Like, his portrayal of Tony all the way through to Endgame and stuff like that, I think was perfect. Iron Man 3 is not his best performance, though, I must say, as Tony Stark. So I'll just say that. But yeah, I can't say much more without obviously delving into too much of the rest of the film. But yeah, just an incredible performance, like start to finish.
Absolutely. Okay, let's move on to the next one, which is Ryan Gosling as Ken in Barbie. I think it's myself start this one off.
Yes.
Isn't it? Again, it's such a wonderful performance. It's one of those performances that is not a typical Oscar performance. There's a lot of I don't want to say fun, because Oscars are obviously fun, but there's a lot of like there's a lot of fun and joyfulness, and also naivety as well, which I think is vital to what Ryan Gosling does, as this kind of the not the foil to Barbie, but always like her, well, literally her co-star, her kind of like her kind of not boyfriend, but he wants to.
Non-committal boyfriend, I believe, or
Non-committal.
non-committed boyfriend, whatever the
That's
fuck he was here. But yeah,
yeah. But like they obviously they go together really well, but then obviously veer off in different ways as the film sort of progresses, and Gosling kind of taking in the patriarchy of the real world, and the love of like horses and stuff is like it's absolutely brilliantly portrayed, and again, what I love the most about it is that he just goes like full ham, like he doesn't hold anything back, and he fully leans into the performance, which is brilliant, and obviously, you know, one of the main things is is the song, which will be performed at the Oscars as well, of I'm Just Ken, which, like, without again obviously going too much into the film and stuff, it's such a brave choice to have that sort of musical break in a non-musical film, and again for him just to totally go for it, whether it's the singing, the choreography as well, and just looking like an absolute badass in that fur coat with his bandana and stuff and bleach blonde hair as well. It's such a wonderful. And we're talking yesterday about things being different and performance and movies being different. Like we talked about also animated features and Robot G's being such a kind of a sort of a 180 from what is normal for this sort of thing. I think this is like that for an acting performance. It's just such a departure from what the Oscars normally will kind of sort of commend and stuff as well. So yeah, absolutely loved his performance. Collie?
Yeah, I thought he was brilliant. It just shows the range of Gosling. Obviously, we talked about him last episode in Blade Runner 2049 and stuff like Drive, and that he's very, very good at playing like, you know, a stoic, quiet kind of, you know, brooding kind of type character. But then when he's in stuff like The Nice Guys and this, and then he's going to be in, is it The Fall Guy that's coming out?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like it just shows that he's got not that he's willing to do everything, because I don't mean that as in like he'll just do any sort of film, but he's got that range, and obviously directors and stuff trust him to have that range. And he fully embodied the Ken character. I don't think there was no hamming of it at all, but I feel like he just fully embraced it. Even just the stupid stuff like the Mojo Dojo cast, and like saying that like multiple times and putting on the sunglasses twice, and yeah, the musical number was excellent. Like I fully think like there's a couple ones that we'll say at the end, obviously, who we could like say could have got nominated, but I don't think they would get nominated in the place of this. I feel like, you know, I do sort of agree when you're saying like this is kind of the opposite of what the Oscars normally go for. Normally it's stuff like Oscar baity things, which we will talk about in the next couple of categories. So I'm chuffed for him even just to be nominated. And like the odds for him to win it are relatively short. I know like Downey is probably like a shoe-in for it, but I think he's second favourite when I was looking it up prior to discussing it. So like, and I think it's like if he got it, I wouldn't be like raging about it. You know, like I'd feel hard. Robert Downey Jr. is hard done by, but I wouldn't feel that he's unworthy of winning it if he did win it. So yeah, just a fun performance, and it's good to talk about fun performances when it comes to stuff like De Niro and Downey Jr., who are in like serious dramas, I would say. It's just a nice little bit of lightness in a heavy kind of thing like the Oscars normally are. So yeah, I fully support that. Todd, what did you think?
Yeah, I'm with you on the sort of the it's not what they go for, and I'm chuffed it's not a normal Oscar film, because if you look at sort of comedy performances from the year, and like comedies are hard. We talk about like we talked about yesterday the era of like Anchorman and Superbad and all that kind of thing, where comedy seemed to be at its peak, and I don't think there's that anymore. This is a top level comedy performance, and it does have its serious moments. It does. For me, it's how much fun he's having. Like I can't explain the laugh, and I'm not going to try and like do it now. But there was the
try it.
I know
You have to do it. You have to do it. Come on, CEO. You have to do it. Come on.
But there's this horrendous laugh that sort of like burst out of us when I'm Just Ken kicked in, and then it kept happening. Like if the musical number was just like a surprise, that would have been great. But it was and I'm great at doing stuff. Like, it had the character. I thought when he with the when he's stood against the house, like the wall of the house, and he puts that glass on the Ken next to him and like dances over, and you can see he's going to break. Like you can
Yeah.
see that he's absolutely going. But I think, like you say, it's fun. It's enjoyable, and I think looking at like I say, it's not as powerful, it's not as meaningful at times, but I do think it's as good of a performance. Like it's just the goalposts are moved slightly because of the type of film that it's in and stuff. And for me, that's a bonus because I think it's one step closer to a horror film, or like an actor in a horror film being nominated for an Oscar. So yeah, that's
Not the horror that you watch. I think he needs. I think he deserves a nomination just for the fact that he didn't break during the scene quite early on when they're talking about beaching each other off constantly. I think so. I watched. I went to do Barbie and Oppenheimer the weekend it came out, and say I was one of the only guys in the whole auditorium watching it or whatever. It was a lot of like mums with their daughters and stuff like that because it was a Barbie film at the end of the day, right? But it was made for everyone. But I was like one of the only people that was like in stitches at that, and I was just like, I feel bad laughing at this almost because it's like, is it like the lowest common denominator of humor? But I thought it was quite good. So yeah.
With it being a Barbie film, it's not like a kid's film necessarily. I can't remember whether it's Barbie or Ken who says about like, yeah, it must be Ken. It's Ken, obviously. About I've got genitals and everything. Like
yeah, it's just like I've got what is it? She's like I've got I don't have a vagina and he has no penis. He's like I have a penis. And he's like walking past them or whatever. Yeah. But anyway, yeah, that's I've said everything I need to say on Ryan Gosling as Ken.
Yeah.
Before we get too like dragged into the rest of the film.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, next one here is Sterling K. Brown in American Fiction. Now, we've not spoke about American Fiction, so I'll just give a quick synopsis about it. So, Monk is a frustrated novelist who's fed up with the establishment that profits from black entertainment that relies on tired and offensive tropes. To prove his point, he uses a pen name to write an outlandish black book of his own, a book that propels him to the heart of hypocrisy and the madness he claims to disdain. So, Sterling K. Brown in American Fiction. Collie, take us away.
It's a weird one. I don't have too much to say, to be honest, about Sterling K. Brown in American Fiction. I was totally taken aback at the fact that he was nominated for this. Like, don't get me wrong, great performance and stuff like that, but I didn't feel like he was that prominent in the film. Like I say, like I'm not saying that it was bad acting or anything like that, but I just didn't feel like he was a massive contribution to the story or anything like that. Like he was more of just a nuisance for his brother more than anything. Like we having his, hosting his friends and his lovers and stuff like that in the houses and that. So, I to be honest, I rewatched it. Like I watched it a couple of times, trying to like take more to talk about his performance. But for me, it's Jeffrey Wright's film, who we'll talk about. And if anyone in the supporting cast was going to be nominated, it would have been obviously I would have felt like it would have been his girlfriend during the film, or even his sister, who wasn't in it very long, but I thought she put in a quote unquote more impactful performance than Sterling K. Brown. And again, like I'm not criticizing him, I'm more just we're going to come on at the end of like who should have been nominated, but I just feel like he was this nomination's a bit left field for me, and I don't really know much more to say as in like it was fine. Like the movie was great, which we'll get onto, but his performance was like adequate, I guess you could say. It just contributed very little for me. What did you think of Sterling K. Brown, Todd?
Yeah, I'm with you in terms of the nomination. I thought it was a great performance. I think you felt that sort of not neglect, but that pain that he had from not being able to tell his dad that he was gay. And I feel like every time he was on screen, he was battling with, him having those problems and not quite understanding why Monk had such an issue. And I think he was fantastic, and I wish he was in it a little bit more. I think I'm with you on that, and I do think, like you say, his sister was probably the better supporting performance. I don't get the nomination. I like it. Again, we'll come to it. Love the film, but I don't know where. Like I say, when we talk about behind the eyes, when you talk about that sort of, the sort of non-verbal the non-verbal expression, I think he was brilliant. But yeah, there was a conversation that actually nearly sort of like had me a bit on a bit of a wobble, and it was at the party where he sits down with Monk and has that conversation. I can't remember what it was about specifically, but that sent me lip going a little bit like. But again, I think that was more about the film, the writing, all that kind of thing, rather than the performance itself. Like you say, I think he did a great job. I don't think it was a bad performance, but yeah, not sure why. Massey?
I'm glad, because I was like, obviously we don't talk about things really going into this, and I was like, why is he nominated? Like, I felt there was like much more impactful performances in the film than Sterling K. Brown. That's again, and I shared a video with you guys a while back where he even says in an interview like he's not going to win it, but he's just glad to be there and be nominated. So fair play to him for being honest with that, obviously. But yeah, I don't really understand the nomination, and again, he is absolutely fine. But there's stronger parts of the film that are more deserving for an Oscar, I think, than him. And I love Sterling K. Brown. I think he's a really good actor. I like. He always takes me back to the Brooklyn Nine-Nine performance when he's the dentist there. Like, that's like top tier TV performance for me. But yeah, in this it was absolutely fine. And we'll also talk about the film in more detail. And Collie, you're absolutely spot on saying it's Jeffrey Wright's film. Like, that was kind of like the more driving factor for me as well. So I don't have much more to say about Sterling K. Brown either. Yeah, which I feel kind of bad, but yeah, I totally agree with both of you in that it's like, it's one of those where it's like, is he really the most deserving nomination? Okay, well, with nothing said about Sterling K. Brown, let's move on to the next one. So we've got Mark Ruffalo in Poor Things. We've spoken about Poor Things yesterday, didn't we?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's fine. So, yeah, Mark Ruffalo in Poor Things. It's yourself, Todd. Take us away.
Blew me away. I thought he was phenomenal, and I think he's again, it's a performance that doesn't match the usual Oscar nominations. It's one that's a little bit over the top, and belongs in this surreal film. Like that, his accent were at different times. I don't know if he was like shifting the accent to be part of the country that they were visiting at the time or what, but like, it worked. Him stood outside of Bella's room under the balcony screaming for her. It was just amazing. But even like the physical work he did in the dances and stuff, and the way that he like marched around that cruise ship. There's when the film came out, the one gif of him that was everywhere was this, like, when he's when Bella says that she wants to go and sleep with other people type thing and wants to explore, and he's looking this way, and then he like goes like this towards the camera. It kills me. I will find that gif, and it just kills me every time. And I think it's stuff like that he does that sets him out against it. And the other thing is, he's just a wonderful human being. And I know that shouldn't come into like because all these actors seem lovely, but when what's he called? Mystery Dong.
Willem Dafoe.
Willem Dafoe. The name just went. Sorry. When Willem Dafoe played a prank on him, I'm sure you put it in one of his put it in the chat where he said, "Oh, you're being replaced. Just get ready because you don't have the part anymore." Mark Ruffalo believed it. Bless him. Like, he was just ready to like give the part up to somebody else. Like,
it was Oscar Isaac, wasn't it?
Is that who it was? Oscar Isaac.
Like, I think he was like a set next door or something like that.
So he's seen him wandering about and gets his head going. I just thought, I think that plays a big part in that. Again, he was having fun with it and like loved the role, wanted to be a part of it. Like I said, I said yesterday about them like messing about with the dancing and stuff. It was a great performance in a weird old film that matched. It just matched it. It was great. There's not, again, where'd you put it against like powerhouse performances like Downey Jr.? But I think in the film itself, it is a perfect performance for that film. So he deserves to be nominated. Massey, what about you?
Yeah, it's wonderful, isn't it? It's absolutely insane. Like, similar way to Gosling, he kind of just absolutely goes for it. Like, there's no holding back. Even in the naughty scenes and stuff like that, he just totally goes for it. And fair play to him. I think, and again, we'll kind of get into the director later on, but the director obviously allowed him to do that. But he just looks like he's having an absolute blast, even the times where where he is despondent for the fact that Bella has left to do other things with other men. He's still, in those moments, he still seems like he's having the time of his life. And it's an absolutely wonderful performance. And basically every time he was on screen, I was laughing because he's just an absolute. As you say, it fits perfectly to the surrealness of the film, and he's just. It's just an absolute wonderful performance. It's hard to even kind of go into it without just saying that him having a blast made me have a blast, and I think it's such a worthy nomination. I'm so happy for him. But yeah, Collie.
I can't really say too much more. Like I only really kind of not learned of his comedic chops, but when he was in Thor Ragnarok and Hulk's a bit, or Bruce Banner more so, like when he's Bruce in that film, and he's got like this lisp that he develops all of a sudden with the character, and he's a lot more funny and stuff. And I thought he was hilarious in that film, and then in this, he just like doesn't even double down, he quadruple downs, he whatever downs. Like he goes full for it. But one of the scenes that had me pissing myself was when he's like shouting at Willem Dafoe's character, and then Rami Youssef says he's got cancer, and he just goes, "Oh," he just it's the most like, "Oh," it just proper dead me, like, because that's when he rocks up with Bella's, well, whoever Bella was originally, I can't remember her name, her original husband. That's who he goes and finds, obviously, because he's upset at Bella not being with him anymore or whatever. But he's just lambasting Willem Dafoe, and then you know what I mean, he's got cancer. Oh, okay, like it just proper dead me. But just start to finish, he was hilarious. And yeah, that scene when she looks out in the balcony, he's like in the street like that, like just properly like over the top crying, like. Yeah, proper tickled me, and I'm really glad he got nominated for it. A very worthy nomination, and yeah, it's cool to see like two actors that are probably best known for the MCU being nominated alongside each other for Oscars. I thought that was pretty cool. But yeah, I don't have too much to add on what you have said.
Perfect. Okay, so again, thinking about who we think will win and who we want to win. So I'm going to ask Collie, who do you think I want to win?
Robert Downey Jr. want and think.
Fair enough. Todd?
Yeah, as much as I'd love to see Ryan Gosling get some, like, do you know what I mean, be up there, I want Downey Jr. to win it because it's his best performance, and he's going to win it. He's nailed on.
Fair enough. Yeah, I want Ryan Gosling to win it, but again, when I say that Robert Downey Jr. is going to win it, and the reason I'm saying I want Ryan Gosling is because I know Robert Downey Jr. is going to do it. So like, it's one of those things. I think it's going to be a well-deserved Oscar for Mr.
Yeah, like to say, like I wouldn't be disappointed if anybody apart from Sterling K. Brown, and that's not a slight on him, but I'm saying like if any of the nominees won it, I kind of touching. I think it was it you, Todd, that was saying if De Niro did win it, like that would be out the blue and a bit of a
legacy
Jamie Lee Curtis moment from last year, kind of thing, because he's like, you know, but he's a worthy nominee, and again, I wouldn't be raging if anybody apart from Sterling K. Brown got it, but. I guess I could ask both of you because I've got a couple of ideas. Who do you think maybe should have been nominated in this category? Limiting it to 5 is so difficult. I hope in future they do open it up, even to 6 or something like that. Because I know Best Picture in the last couple of years has been expanded to add a couple of more nominees, as far as I know. So obviously you can't have like 20 nominees for every category, but even just one would have been a bit easier, I feel.
I mean, I don't know. There's all this thing about Iron Claw, and I don't know how, like, if there was a reason for that not getting anything, if it came out too late or whatever. But like, I would have liked to seen one of them potentially if they were eligible, like Jeremy Allen White. Like that for me would have been.
It would have to be Jeremy Allen White because Zac Efron would obviously be main actor, would he?
But the other boy as well.
The other brother, right?
Yeah,
sorry.
but Jeremy Allen White is, he's probably the most.
I want him to win every award under the sun. To be honest, like, the man's the best. The man's the best. But yeah.
But I don't. I mean, there was. I don't know if you guys know why Iron Claw was kind of. I don't know if it's snubbed or if was it just because it was too late out or what.
I think it was released within the window, but I think like A24, I can't remember what film it is, but they went full hog on backing that one to be nominated. I can't remember what film out of all of these is A24.
Past Lives, was it?
Might have been Past Life, but because the Oscars nomination process is all sorts of weird, and you have to like, I think you have to like financially back it to an extent that it's going to get nominated in that. So
Right.
I think they just thought that would be the better like chance or whatever. I don't know, but that's what I read about it, was that they weren't that invested in getting it
Oh.
award nominated. I think it was released last year, so I believe it is eligible.
Yeah.
Yeah, A24 didn't campaign for it.
Yeah, so
That's
yeah,
mental.
exactly,
That is
exactly that.
crazy.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
which is a shame, but like it's been so well received, it's been so well like critically acclaimed that like Zac Efron, I can't remember the director, but like him, Jeremy, it's gonna set them off to be in films down the line that are nominated, I feel, and I think that would be worthy down the line. It's just disappointing because like it was an incredible film.
Mhm.
But yeah, that's a good suggestion. I actually didn't have that noted down, to be honest. It completely escaped me when I was thinking about who should have been nominated. But yeah, Jeremy Allen White should have. I want him to be nominated. I want him to win it, and I think he should win it. There we go. Todd, anyone for you that you feel has been missed out?
I'd have had Paul Mescal, or to be honest, I'd have had Jamie Bell as well. I thought either of those. I mean, Jamie Bell's a bit more probably left field just because of the amount of time he's in the film. But I thought Mescal was up there for me, and I'd even chuck off the top of my head, and it's been a while since I've watched it, Jacob Elordian for Priscilla.
Oh.
I
I've not seen Priscilla
as,
yet.
as
actually.
Elvis. It's yeah.
Good shit.
I mean, he deserved an Oscar for what he did. No, in that bath. No, like Priscilla's a distinctly average film, in my humble opinion. But the performances are what makes it good. And Jacob Elordi as Elvis was fantastic. But maybe that's maybe I'm just thinking like it's an Oscar Beatty type film, and do you know what I mean, with rose tinted glasses maybe. But I would Paul Mescal. I never know. Yeah, definitely. Collie, anyone?
Oh, I've got a few. I think Matt Damon for Groves in Oppenheimer would have been a shout. Because that's what I noticed this year. Was it last year or the year before? But there was, I think in both years actually, there was loads of films that had multiple nominees in the same category for like the actor and actress category. Obviously, Everything Everywhere All at Once had Stephanie Hsu and Jamie Lee Curtis.
Yep.
And then That Power of the Dog had Jesse Plemons and somebody else nominated it as well.
Judas and the Black Messiah.
Yeah. So like there was multiple nominations in that. So this year to have none was quite surprising. So I thought Groves could have been maybe nominated. Only watched it for the first time yesterday, but that is it. Charles Melton in May December. Todd, I watched that yesterday afternoon after we talked about it. I thought he was really good, and then Dominic Sessa in The Holdovers. I thought like,
oh yeah,
I thought he was a big miss. Consider, and this isn't anything against. Is it Divine Joy Randolph? Is it Randolph?
Yeah.
So like again, she was great. Like, don't get me wrong, but like Dominic Sessa and Paul Giamatti are like the stars of the film. So for Sessa not to be nominated, and again, like I feel sorry for him because Sterling K. Brown is nominated, but at least I've not seen that interview, Massey, but like he's self-aware that he's like, I probably shouldn't have been up here, but I'm glad that I am, and I'm glad for him that he is as well, obviously, because he's a hardworking actor. But like Sessa definitely should have been in here. Groves maybe is a bit of bias because love Matt Damon and loved the film, but I think he was very, very good in it as well. He actually provided a bit of the comic relief in Oppenheimer, which there wasn't much of. But it's one when the scientist quits. He's like, "Well, I quit Generalissimo," and then Oppie's like, "Are you not worried about him talking?" He's like, "Oh, he hates me, not America." And then Oppie says something like, "Oh, how can you trust him?" He's like, "Oh, don't worry, I'll have him killed," or something like that. Like it's just silly little moments like that that I thought it would have been good to have him nominated, because again I love Matt Damon, so a little bit of bias from that, because there's not many things that he's been in that I've disliked, but
he was great in Team America.
Oh, that was his best performance by far. That was his best performance by far. But like it's one of those ones. It was good to have him as a named actor in Oppenheimer, because he was secret obviously in Interstellar. Great performance in Interstellar. Obviously, that's Nolan again, but it was good for him to be quite prominent in a Nolan. But yeah, that was kind of some of the ones that I thought had been maybe missed out. And like I say, if it had been expanded even to 6, Sterling K. Brown not in there, get Sessa and Charles Melton in for May December maybe, or Mezcal for All of Us Strangers. Yeah, that's, and again, they probably wouldn't have won it, but I think like for them to be recognised for their work would have been good as well.
Yep, agreed. Okay, let's move on to the next category, which we have is Best Actress. So nominees are Lily Gladstone for Killers of the Flower Moon, Annette Bening for Nyad, Carey Mulligan for Maestro, Sandra Hüller for Anatomy of a Fall, and Emma Stone for Poor Things. So firstly, Lily Gladstone, Killers of the Flower Moon. Is it yourself, Collie?
It's you, I think, Massey.
It's me, is it? Okay, perfect.
Yeah, because we've done 5, so yeah, you're the 6th. Yeah.
Thank you. I'm not good at maths.
Covered this yesterday.
Yeah. When we're talking about, obviously, talking about how good De Niro was in Killers of the Flower Moon, as the kind of like antagonist, Lily Gladstone blows everyone out of the water. She is phenomenal. Like, just when we talk about subtle acting and things, she is. I've not seen her in anything else, but in this, she is absolutely head and shoulders. I think she is like an absolute what's the word? I'm just so excited by her performance. She was just, I thought, like, her from start to finish, like the emotion she showed without being over the top and with being like a kind of almost like the sort of center point of things. I just thought that like it was an absolute astounding performance. In it, where obviously she's next to Leonardo DiCaprio, and there's Robert Downey, not Robert Downey Jr. He was in Oppenheimer. Robert De Niro. Like for her to be the one that absolutely drew me in every single time she's on the screen, like it says, it speaks volumes. I thought that her powerful acting, where not even being out there, just kind of like with her again, her physicality and her the sort of quietness that she kind of brings to scenes, was absolutely astounding. Like I don't think I've seen a performance really like it, to be honest. But like she was just absolutely wonderful, and I was glued to the screen whenever she was on it. Collie, thoughts on Lily Gladstone, Killers of the Flower Moon?
I thought she was incredible. Like you say, the best part of the film. Just like even from the beginning when Ernest DiCaprio's like trying to court her and stuff like that in the car, he's trying to charm her and stuff. Those conversations were quite entertaining. And then just obviously as her family's getting decimated around her, she obviously knows something's up. She obviously knows something's up, but she can't really place her finger on it. And then like the last, skipping all the way to the end, the last conversation that she has with DiCaprio when it's like, "What did you give me?" and he still denies it. It's crazy. And again, we will talk about the whole film in general, Massey, because I know we've got not conflicting opinions, but different opinions. The scene where they're both in the bed and she's like out of it and stuff like that, and then you see the owl appearing and stuff like that. Like I just thought her, when she was playing herself in like delirious ways, I thought was like super convincing. And yeah, there's nothing really I can pinpoint because she was just that good in every single scene that she was in, like you say. So yeah, I loved her in this, and I look forward to seeing her in more. To be honest, hopefully that this is a stepping stone for her to get into more films and more similar roles. What did you think of Lily Gladstone, Todd?
Yeah, like I mean, you've covered it. I think the fact that like she's the main focus every time somebody dies was an amazing choice. Just because you feel it on her, you see it in her face, you feel it in the way that she's speaking, and even when she's getting weaker, and you can again see it and feel it, she's still this strong character. But I'm with you, Colin. Like the bit with DiCaprio where he's trying to sort of charm her and like talk, that was brilliant because I think it's difficult to play against somebody like DiCaprio who is so seasoned. And like I say, she's had a career. It's nothing I've really seen actually. I think this is the first thing I've seen her in. But it's not as if she's new to the game type thing. And she held her own really well. I think you can see that it means something as well, like to be able to tell this sort of story and to be able to, when she's talked about it in interviews and stuff, you can see what it means to her. And but yeah, I can't really cover anything else. I think you've got it spot on. She was stoic. She was like calm. It was ridiculous. And like you say, it was the highlight of the film in a film full of highlights. But there's nothing else I can really say about it.
Yeah, like obviously the stoic and the serious parts, and then obviously the serious parts are great. But yeah, coming back to that conversations when they're laughing, it's when she's like smirking at him being silly and that, and then she's like saying like things under her breath in the Osage language and stuff like that. Like the transition in between, even just talking to her, and we'll talk about somebody else who uses language as a great acting tool in this category. The transition between like English and that language with her family and stuff like that, I thought was really, really, really seamless as well.
And I think, as far as I'm aware, when she was talking with Leo in the car and stuff, like, apparently that was improvised, or a lot of it was improvised.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Even better.
Yeah.
That's sick.
Yeah. Okay, we'll move on to the next nomination in Best Actress. We have Annette Bening for Nyad. So, Collie, take us away.
Best part of the film, I would say, but that doesn't really say too much. We kind of discussed the film yesterday when we were talking about Jodie Foster. Didn't particularly enjoy this film, even less so when you find out after the fact that most of it's shite, or allegedly shite. But yeah, and Annette Bening's like she's a seasoned actress. This is her 5th Academy Award nomination. So she's obviously really good at what her craft and stuff like that. She knows what she's doing. I thought like. There was an article that I was reading on this that she never attempts to make the character likable. Like, yeah, you can like root for her or whatever because she's trying to achieve the dream, but she's quite mean like for quite a lot of the film, and I think Annette Bening like leans into that. So in terms of like if we're just like strictly talking about performance, I thought she was really good. It's quite an Oscar baity film, so whether she should be nominated or not is different, but. I can't really say much apart from she was the best bit of a pretty substandard film, to be honest. I've got nothing else to say. Either of you have much else to say? Todd?
No, I wasn't even that impressed with it, to be honest. Like, where Sterling K. Brown, it's like I'm surprised he's nominated, but okay, because he actually, I don't know. I think you could put anybody else in the role and they do the same job, and obviously that's a lot of hypothetical, and we can't play that game because we don't know. But I think it's another legacy like nomination, and I think in terms and like an Oscar baity film, but in terms of other performances, and I know we'll get to it at the end. I think there's been a lot of people who've been. Wrongly, and not even the big elephant in the room, but like there's a lot of people who've been put out of this category that could have won it, in my opinion. Maybe not, but they could have been within a good shout of winning it. And she's nowhere near. So yeah, she wasn't likable, the character. But it didn't help that the film bored me. Sorry, go on, Massey. We said we were going to be positive. So that's
I mean, it's one of those where I can't really disagree with what you guys have said. I think in terms of all the nominations, like she's probably the longest shot in my eyes for Best Actress. She was fine. The movie was average, and yeah, it was definitely a surprising nomination for me when I watched them. When I watched the nominations come out, but yeah, I don't really have too much more to say about it. I don't think she's in with a shout for winning it whatsoever. I think there's 4 stronger performances. That's the long and short of it.
About 10 of them.
We'll get to that. So the next one on the list is Carey Mulligan for Maestro. Todd? How about Todd?
Yeah,
Yeah, sorry.
I'll go with this.
Can't do maths.
Not her. Obviously, other films came out after the nominations, but not even a best performance in the last year. It was good. Again, it was a good performance, and she I know we'll talk about them in a bit. She acted rings around a co-star, I think. And again, I think it was because I didn't find an affinity with the film that I wasn't as gripped by a performance as I maybe could have been. Again, she's a fantastic actress, and I think a part of the draw of watching this, if we weren't watching it for the Oscars, if we weren't watching it for this, part of the draw of watching Maestro and watching Spaceman is that Carey Mulligan's in it after Promising Young Woman, which I thought was phenomenal. It was a great film, and better on subsequent rewatches. Yeah, she worked really well alongside Bradley Cooper, and I thought, alongside Bradley Cooper's character, and I thought there were moments where I really felt for her. But again, I think they've pushed really hard to get this nominated. I think this is less, obviously it's not a legacy nomination, but I do think it's one of those where they've had the right people, spoken to the right people, had the right get-togethers. I don't know. There's got to be something there where they've. I can't. Again, I can't speak on this. I've watched it once. I'm not watching it again. It was a fine performance. She didn't do anything wrong, but in my eyes, she didn't do anything that sort of. She was better than Annette Bening, but she didn't do anything that kind of stood out. Sorry, I've got a vendetta against Annette. If you're listening, yeah, it was fine. It was absolutely fine, but nothing more than that.
Fair enough.
Okay, Collie. Sorry.
Yeah, not too much to add. To be honest, like similar to Annette Bening, like best part of a okay film, or even less than okay film at some points. Yeah, like I thought she played the role very well. Obviously, like early on when they're, courting each other and getting together and stuff, and then obviously there's the demise of the relationship and the marriage, and that I thought that was pretty good. The conflicts between Bradley Cooper and herself in terms of argumentative scenes and that I thought were very good. But yeah, like again, one that maybe I feel like other people should have been nominated instead. And yeah, like this film is pretty much not the definition of Oscar baity, because there's definitely worse things to be Oscar baity about. But yeah, it was a perfectly fine performance from a really, really good actress, but Oscar nominated, probably not up there. What did you think, Messi?
Yeah, I think I'm probably more. I think I agree. I think I'm probably more. I enjoyed her performance maybe a bit more than you guys. I thought she was wonderful. I thought she was really, really good. I think it helped that for her getting a nomination. I think it helped that this film was, as you say, pushed kind of quite well and however they do it for the Oscar noms, and I think that she was kind of helped by that. But I thought I thought she was wonderful. I thought she like from starting off as being like a kind of cooperative beard to Bradley Cooper's character, to then being like devastated towards the end of the film, where obviously she just wants like loved and stuff as well, like her chat around the table in the restaurant with I can't remember who, I think it's her sister, isn't it, that she chats with around the table, like almost broke me. I thought it was a really fantastic performance, and yeah, I don't know if it's because of the fact that she was, we'll get into next to Bradley Cooper, and she as you say, acted absolute rings around him, that maybe made it stand out more to me. But yeah, I thought she was absolutely phenomenal. And yeah, I mean, again, better than Annette Bening. We'll talk about it, but will she win it? Probably not. But I thought she was really good. I thought she was wonderful in the role. Okay, we'll move on to the next one here. So we have Sandra Hüller in Anatomy of a Fall. Now, we've not spoken about Anatomy of a Fall yet, so I'll just run through the synopsis of that. So, Anatomy of a Fall is a legal drama that revolves around the death of Samuel Molesky, an aspiring writer and occasional professor. His son finds him on the ground after he's fallen from a window several stories up, but inconsistencies in the autopsy tells authorities that this was no tragic accident. It's me, right? Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I thought she was wonderful. I thought she was the best part of this film, to be perfectly honest. I thought her myself and Collie spoke about how she was in another film that was also nominated, as well. But I thought that her, especially the whole kind of thing around it was the courtroom kind of stuff, and her kind of switching between the different languages to kind of understand and get her message across. I thought she did that absolutely effortlessly. I thought there was like a load of stuff behind it as well, like the sort of distrust that her husband potentially had, or at least the annoying fucking the other guy, prosecutor, thank you. That he was I think he, as much as I hated him, but I suppose we'll talk about him later. He drew a lot of this out of her, which I thought was very interesting to see. Yeah, I thought her performance was absolutely outstanding. And it was not what I expected going into see her performance. But yeah, I thought she was absolutely phenomenal. Collie?
Yeah, again, like you say, the best part of best part of the film. I thought she was fantastic, to be honest. A worthy nominee in my eyes. The scene, if we're talking about like a particular scene, the scene that stood out for me that was really good was the argument scene between her and her husband. Like the flashback sequence about halfway through, 2/3 of the way through the film, and it's all they're arguing about the relationship, and like it's all give and take, and he wants more time to write, and she's like, well, you agreed to look after the son and all that kind of, like, I thought just her in that argument was absolutely, like I couldn't take my eyes off either of them when they were arguing, but she was really, really good in it. And even like obviously at the beginning of the film, just to skip even further, like back to the start, the conversation that she's having with the journalist and stuff, you don't really pick up on the fact that she's being flirtatious and stuff, and then it's not until later down the line that it's revealed that she cheated and with women previously, and then the prosecutor is like, "Oh, you had a bit of wine and all that." It doesn't really click until, so it shows like the subtlety of her performance, I thought, in that, and then even like all the way throughout the film, it flip flopped for me anyway in terms of like, did she do it? Did she not do it? What did she do? All that kind of stuff, and even until the end, which is interacting with her son right at the end of the film, it doesn't exactly like tell you black and white like what happened or anything like that, but you can't tell if she's being honest with her son or if she's manipulating him, the same as like you weren't sure if she was being right when she was arguing with her husband earlier on in the film. So I thought like it wasn't like a big bombastic kind of Oscar baity performance. I thought it was very subtle, and very strong. I thought she was great in this. What did you think, Todd?
Yeah, for me it was the frustration. That for me was the key to her performance. Things like even in the scene, where they're turning the music up and getting her to speak and seeing if the son could hear upstairs, and just that level of like she's willing to help. You feel like she's innocent throughout because she's trying to sort of help. And in the courtroom, like say the prosecutor and the way that he dealt with her was, it almost felt like a nightmare. Like when you can't scream in a nightmare, you can't run. Like it was that like, like you say, the switching of the languages to try and help, and that was against it. And you could just feel that every time they switched that, every time she tried to talk in German and tried to like, get that point across and really struggled. Thought she was phenomenal. Like I say, subtle performance. And I think it'll go under the radar in terms of a performance as well. I think like she won't be a front runner, despite the fact that she probably should be. Like again, I don't think she'll win it, but I think she's one of the better performances of the year. She's a worthy nominee. She's absolutely a worthy nominee. Great performance, and like I say, I don't feel like I've seen her in a lot until obviously
this year.
2 nominated Oscar films off the belt. But I really hope to see her in more because she was, like I say, really strong, but with that subtlety. Yeah.
Good stuff. Right, let's move on to the final one, the Best Actress. So we have Emma Stone for Poor Things. Collie, do you want to take us away here?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I love Emma Stone. I think she's a fantastic actress. She obviously previously won an Oscar for one of my favorite films in La La Land, and I think this is a well-worthy performance here. Her playing Bella from the early stages of infancy in terms of like her emotional intelligence and intelligence in general, all the way like just realizing how the real world is and stuff like that. I kind of touched on it a bit yesterday. Her bug eyes, her big bug eyes, they're just like so magnetic from performance wise. She really does lead with them. And I like, as much as it was, your heart broke for her when she realizes obviously the disparity in the world in terms of poor and rich, etc. Because she's obviously only ever lived with Willem Dafoe and well off and stuff like that. When she realizes that there's this disparity in the world, you really feel for her. And then 2 seconds later, you're feeling so frustrated and laughing at her because she just takes all of Mark Ruffalo's money and gives it away to them. And then they have that big blown up argument in the bedroom. And she's like distraught still at folk being poor and that, and he's like raging at her. The dynamic between those two really, really made this film, but I think she's like head and shoulders above anyone in this film. And that's saying something because obviously we really just complimented Mark Ruffalo there. We didn't really mention that Willem Dafoe, or I felt like he could have maybe had a nomination perhaps for supporting if they were going down the route of having multiple for each film, but that doesn't seem to be the thing this year. But yeah, like just head and shoulders above the two of them is a feat in itself, I would say. And I thought she did it with, I say, relative ease. I mean, obviously it was a really difficult job to act like the way she did, because it wasn't only like speaking in a certain way as Bella, but it was like her physicality had to be a certain way. And we talked on it yesterday, and we'll talk about it again now, but like that dance sequence and the way that she dances and stuff like that when they're on the ship's hilarious. It just like proper like belly laughing her at times. And obviously it's intentional that they want you to laugh as part of the film, but Bella doesn't want you, or isn't trying to make you laugh. She's being like deadly serious. And as she's exploring her sexuality and wants to be with all the people and stuff, it's the scene when they're on the bench and she's explaining to Mark Ruffalo that she got paid for sex, or she's got paid for sex, or she's wanting to get paid for sex. I can't remember if she's done it yet or not. But she's just she's just so matter of fact about it. She's just like, yeah, like that's just what I want to do. And I thought it was a very empowering performance in that regard as well. Yeah, I'll allow you to talk on her now, Massey. Todd, one of you can take over now. But I thought she was absolutely fantastic, brilliant.
Okay, cool, perfect. Yeah, yeah. I think it was a super brave performance, wasn't it? Like obviously there's a lot of nudity in it, which for a lot of big name actresses or even actors, maybe wouldn't dip their toe in that water. But for her to do it, I thought it was like a really brave move. Sorry. Yeah, you're right. The physicality for me was the standout. From the way that she was walking as an infant, basically just trying to get one leg in front of the other, or 1 foot in front of the other. Sorry, and then as she got older, she was exploring her sexuality and being very empowered with her sexuality as well, which I thought was quite a cool way to show it. One of the you're saying about obviously how she makes us laugh, but she's being completely serious. Like, one of the things that absolutely killed me was when they were eating dinner and they're talking about the more cultured lady was hinting at like her husband's genitals, and then and then she just goes straight out and says it about Mark Ruffalo's, and then in the next part she wants to go and punch a baby, and Mark Ruffalo literally has to stop her from doing it. Like, just things like that. It was just incredible. And again, we know that she's a wonderful comedic actress, obviously from like the Superbad and stuff as well. like cutting her teeth there. But I thought it was an unbelievable performance from start to finish. We talk about how Lily Gladstone had me, you know, like glued to screen whenever she was on. Emma Stone's there for 99% of the movie, and I was absolutely like enthralled to see what she did. She was absolutely spot on from start to finish. So yeah, unbelievable performance. Todd?
Yeah, it's easy to get wrong as well. I think that's one of the main things is, you know, the progression from the first time you see her where like she is walking like a baby essentially, and a speech and learning to speak, and how that feels legitimate. It feels real that she would have developed over that amount of time. Was amazing. Like you said, it was a physicality for me that was the winner. That was the thing that really got me. I can't speak enough on that dance sequence, and like it genuinely feels like they're having a competition, and that's down to her in the lead. I think I'll go as far to say she's up there as my favorite actress working. Just because, like, say she leaves nothing off screen type thing. Everything's on there. Even in those like soft moments where she's talking in the brothel with the other girls who are working in there, and she's talking like a person who is new to the world and doesn't understand the rules. And I know that's obviously what the character is, but you get that impression from the way that she speaks and the confusion in her voice when she's told she can't do something. It was a weird film that it was her film. Like you said, we'll talk about obviously American Fiction being Jeffrey Wright's film. This is her film. Mark Ruffalo is amazing. Like I think you're spot on. Not mentioning Willem Dafoe's a bit of a crime, really, but she took it, and she was phenomenal. There's not a lot else I can add, but yeah, brilliant.
Perfect. Okay, so let's go with who we think will win and who we want to win for Best Actress. So, Collie, what do you think?
I think Emma Stone will win, but I want Lily Gladstone to win.
Todd?
I'm the opposite. I think Lily Gladstone will win it. I think she got nailed on, but I really want Emma Stone to win it.
Yeah, I'm the same as you, Todd. I want Emma Stone, but I think Lily Gladstone. I think it's between the two of them. I think.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
I hope you are both correct.
Well, we will see come the 11th of March, isn't it? I think it is. Anyway, we'll see. And I unlike last year's, I'll wake up in time for actually.
Well, 10th, it's a week today, isn't
it? Yes.
It's a week tonight.
Yes, it is. It's Sunday, isn't it? Yeah. The 10th. Sorry. Apologies. Right. Okay. Let's move on.
As if we're doing an Oscar special or anything.
Okay. All right. Okay. Right. Okay. So let's move on to the next category here.
Are we wanting to talk about who could have been nominated? Does anyone have any ideas for that? Todd, Massey, either of you?
No, I don't think there's any misses. No, not at all.
Todd?
Oh, you've been serious?
Of course.
I was going to say, hang on a second. You guys. Go on.
I mean, Margot Robbie, like as Barbie, like I think that was the big snub, wasn't it? Again, I don't know if she would have won it, but I mean, for her to be snubbed, I think is wild.
Yeah, Annette Bening to fuck. Sorry.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Just killed Todd, I think.
Well, he is the coughing executive officer, so. Yeah, I mean that's the big one for me. Is that's the big miss? Is Margot Robbie not getting nomination? Anyone else?
I've got 3. Sydney Sweeney in Reality. I don't know if it's a weird. It's verbatim from a FBI. What's like a report? That's the only way I can describe it. And she plays a TSA agent, I think it is. Or she plays a government agent anyway, who's accused of leaking documents. And it's literally, this film is set in the house where these agents go around and sort of an interrogator about the fact that she may have leaked this information either on purpose or by accident. It's a strange film, but it was brilliant.
I thought you were going to say Madam Web for a second there, but
I haven't seen it. I've heard great things. I don't know if you saw Hideo Kojima.
I saw it
tweeted
at
his
the
one.
theatre.
I saw Madam Web at a theatre.
I think
Tiana or
Sydney Sweeney just did Saturday Night Live, and she was like, "Oh, you might have seen me in this, or this," and she's like, "You definitely didn't see me in Madam Web." though."
Oh, God bless her. She tried hardest. Yeah, Tiana Taylor in 1001, which was about a woman who's takes a son out of care, basically, and it's just about them trying to live their life, not on the run necessarily, but trying to battle that care system and stuff, and the twists and turns that takes were amazing, and she was phenomenal. And then Aisling, I've had to Aisling Franciosi, I think her name is. It's definitely Aisling, but that was in God's Creatures at the beginning of the year. That was like, and I think that's a part of the problem is like obviously when it's a January release, a lot of them get forgotten about. She was fun. That's Paul Mescal as well, and she accuses him of sexual assault, and it's basically this village turning against her and backing Mescal's character. It was unbelievable. It was one of the first films I watched last year at the cinema. God's Creatures, it's called. Class. They would be my three. Over Annette Bening, Carey Mulligan. I don't know who. Sandra. I don't know if I could do that to Sandra. Sorry, Collie. Sorry, go on.
Sandra.
Sorry.
That was Sandra.
Sorry, Colin. Before you go to you, just one I just thought of as well. Mia McKenna Bruce from House X, like massive. She just won the BAFTA Rising Star. Yeah, phenomenal performance. Sorry, Colin, on you go.
I thought, well, it's recency bias because I watched it yesterday, but I thought Natalie Portman or Julianne Moore. I don't know who would be down as like the leading actress. It would be a joint thing probably, so either could have been nominated for that. And yeah, it's very Oscar baity, but I thought, is it Kaylee Spenny in Priscilla? I thought she was really good as well.
Oh yeah.
So again, like a bit too Oscar baity perhaps, but yeah, I thought she was better than Annette Bening and arguably Carey Mulligan as well.
I need to check out Priscilla then, because as you both obviously said, Jacob Elordi is
good.
Elvis, and then
it's good.
Priscilla.
I mean, like I enjoy Elvis type things. I see. Sorry, just on a complete digress to that. It was so I know you've not seen Dune 2 yet, and I won't spoil anything from it, but like you'll know that Austin Butler plays Batista's brother, so Stellan Skarsgård's other nephew, essentially.
Yeah.
And somebody made a letterbox list, and it was like films where Austin Butler gets bossed about by a guy in a fat suit, and it was that and Elvis. I was like, yeah, valid. Yeah, I thought that was funny.
Oh, that's brilliant.
So just on the Elvis thing, and I think I only seen it yesterday or this morning.
That
did make me laugh.
I did hear as well. Like, obviously, Austin Butler. We spoke about him last year, and he spent years trying to perfect the voice for Elvis and things. And apparently, Jacob Elordi said that he got the Elvis voice from watching Johnny Bravo.
yeah, brilliant. So funny. Like, and it's arguably just as good a voice, to be honest. I would say, like.
Oh, brilliant! If you don't know what Johnny Bravo is, was it Nickelodeon or Cartoon Network, wasn't it? It was like the
Cartoon Network.
Yeah, the guy with the poof back hair and yeah.
it was a cartoon about a womanizer who failed at every turn. That's essentially what it was. It was fantastic.
Oh, brilliant. Right, okay, let's move on to the next one here. So we have Best Actor. Now, the nominees for Best Actor are Bradley Cooper for Maestro, Colman Domingo for Rustin, Paul Giamatti for The Holdovers, Cillian Murphy for Oppenheimer, and Jeffrey Wright for American Fiction. Where are we? Because I've lost it already.
Todd.
Okay, Todd, go for it. Bradley Cooper in Maestro.
It's not an Oscar performance. Again, I think they've spoken to the right people. I think they've had the right backing, because I didn't get it at all. And I know that there's a sort of like, I don't want to be one of these people who's chronically online, who's like battling against a film or whatever, but I hated the whole like the thing around it, and I'm sure we'll talk about when we get to Best Director as well. But I just think he didn't do anything particularly wrong. Do you know what I mean? I don't think it was the worst performance. I don't think it deserves like a Razzie or anything like that. But I don't think it was an Oscar performance at all. Like, it was nowhere near. If you look at the other if you look at the other nominations, there's one that I would argue probably shouldn't be in there, and even they were higher and a lot better than Bradley Cooper. I think it was Hammy, and in the wrong ways, because obviously, is it Leonard Bernstein, isn't it? It's the character, the person he's playing. Like, he's obviously like a character in himself. He's this bombastic, some at times over the top, and a little bit flamboyant. But I just felt like he lent into that too much, and it took me out of it quite a lot. I think he was playing for the Oscar. I think that's part of the problem, is instead of embracing the role and kind of looking for those the big moments down into the subtle moments, he's tried to go too much, and it took me out of it. And like you say, when you've got Carey Mulligan who's doing her best to kind of keep it going, he just kind of dragged it back. Unfortunately, I don't think, and like you say, I think, was it you, Collie, who said about it being Rocket, being his performance, a better performance. It's nowhere near an Oscar-nominated performance for me. Massey, I don't know.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. It's hammed up. It's like a caricature, isn't it? And I try not to let outside influences kind of take me when it comes to how I feel about the performances, but he's kind of gone off the rails, isn't he? Like, he's just, the more he talks, the more he just sort of comes across as like he's let this all go to his head, and kind of he's almost resigned, because he definitely wants, he's done this because he wants the Oscar. That's like the whole thing. He's almost pulled his pants down for the Oscar. Like, that's what he's given everything to get this award, and we'll talk about it, but he's not going to. And I think that's kind of put him a bit off the rails, sort of thing. He said it took him 6 years to work out how to conduct. And again, a video I shared with you guys as well, a Juilliard professor critiqued his conducting and said it's like, basically said it's all wrong, essentially. So it's like, again, I'm trying not to take that into it, because it's about the performance it has. Things aren't going to be exactly spot on, just in the way that we spoke about biopics aren't exactly necessarily going to be historically accurate. You have to do things on film that are maybe different and are more suited to a cinematic environment. But it just felt like he was trying far too hard, and he was hamming it up because he thought that was going to be what would get him an Oscar. And I didn't enjoy his performance, especially, as I say, next to Carey Mulligan, who I absolutely adored in her performance. His was just, it's not an Oscar worthy performance for me. Collie?
Yeah, I can't really argue with anything that you were saying. I'm maybe not like as harsh on it, because I thought he was perfectly fine. It was just, I wouldn't even go as far as to say that it wasn't Oscar nominated, like, or a nomination like worthy, because it was fine enough. Like, playing a kind of flawed individual, in terms of his personality and stuff like that, it is very Oscar baity, and I think, like, I just feel that he does his best work when he's like actually doing it. So, like, stuff like A Star Is Born, or oh god, what was the film with De Niro that it was his dad? Silver Linings Playbook. No, Silver Linings Playbook, stuff like that. Yeah. Like, when he's very charismatic, like, of his own accord, and I know that he's trying to play a real person, but it just turns it up to 11. Like, there's like Todd said, there's the big bombastic moments, and I thought, like, whether or not it was accurate or not, I thought the composing scene in that hall or whatever the hell it was, like, I thought that was really good. For the most part, in terms of entertaining, and it swelled in the right moments and stuff like that. But it was just the subtle stuff I think he really missed out on. A lot of the stuff when he was on the phone to his kids and stuff like that, I just felt was a bit too hammy and a bit too try hard. Because, like, yeah, he's went off the rails a little bit, and it's some of the stuff that he's coming out with in the press is a bit wild. But, like, I really rate him as an actor. I really do rate him as an actor, and he can do good work. It's just, he just seems so hell bent on doing it that what he should maybe do, Bradley, if you're listening to this, mate, like, listen, right? Just do what DiCaprio ended up doing after, a long time. Was like, yeah, he's picking his own projects, but like, don't do projects for the sake of trying to get an Oscar. Do projects that you think are good and solid that could end up getting an Oscar. Don't go for this needs to get an Oscar, so therefore I need to do this kind of thing. And I think he's definitely like an Oscar-worthy actor. This is just not an Oscar-worthy performance. Still better than American Sniper, though.
I do think as well, just in the back of that, is that I think it's almost like he's like, when he does his passion projects, that's when it kind of goes off the rails a little bit, isn't it? I think maybe if he...
I mean, Star is Born, I would say, is like perfectly good, though.
Yeah, like things like this where it's all, as I say, about trying too hard. I think maybe for him, take a step back. Like, don't either do directing or acting.
Don't
do both.
I agree. Agreed. Like, go with, I mean, I'm only looking at the list here, but go with a Yorgos Lanthimos or something like that, or a Nolan, or even like Jonathan Glazer. I know he doesn't do much films or anything like that, but I'm just looking at the list of directors from this year because the list is right there. Like, just go with somebody that can direct you, and like you say, like he's maybe just getting a bit too jumbled in that. I would say that this is the only time. He did this in Star is Born. What else has he done? Yeah, so he's like 50-50 for like fucking up and 50-50 for like going well with it. So, like again, Bradley, listen to me, mate. Come on, we really like you. We're wanting you to get this. I think like I say, he's that caliber of actor, but just not for this one. I guess it's the end of the conversation for me anyway.
Yeah, agreed. Okay, look, on to the next one here. We have Mr. Coleman Domingo for Rustin. Is it me? No?
It's you, and we've not talked about Rustin yet, have we?
No, we're not.
No.
We've not. So Rustin, the activist Bayard Rustin faces racism and homophobia as he helps change the course of civil rights history by orchestrating the 1963 March on Washington. So yeah, as you say, we've also not spoken about this, and we won't be speaking about it in any other parts of it, so we'll kind of discuss maybe a bit more about the film as well. But first of all, Coleman Domingo's performance, I thought it was a great performance. I thought he did really, really well. I thought it was in a similar way to Nyad. I wasn't really sold on the film as such, but the core performance as Coleman Domingo was really good. For me, thinking more about kind of the film as a whole, like I said this in my Letterboxd thing as well. It felt like, or it made me just want to go back and watch Judas and the Black Messiah. I feel like that civil rights movie was done better than this one. If I know they are different, obviously. They're about obviously politics and stuff as well. But it just made me want to go back and watch the more superior Judas and the Black Messiah. But again, I'm not taking away from Coleman Domingo's performance. I thought he was really good. There's a lot of layers to that performance, especially like towards the end where it kind of his transgressions kind of come to light, and he's maybe put in a more awkward place. But I thought he was absolutely wonderful. I've not seen Milk, but I think, as far as I'm aware, it's kind of a similar or not similar, but like kind of a parallel to the Sentinel performance. I don't know. Have you guys seen Milk at all? Is that something you've?
Oh, Milk! I love Milk. Great film. I don't really see the parallels apart from it being political and about the main person being gay.
Okay,
I don't really see the parallels about it.
Because I read that somewhere where there was like, I'm not seeing Milk, so it could have just been that literally the main character was.
That's the only connection I can make off the top of my head.
Fair enough. So there's no parallels to Milk.
I wouldn't say there's none. I'm just saying that I don't really see it without thinking about it.
But yeah, in terms of Sentinel performance, I thought Coleman Domingo was really good. Again, is he going to win it? There's more deserving people, I would say. But yeah, I think it's one of those that like I can see why he was nominated. I thought it was a very good performance. Collie?
Yeah, I mean, not too much to say. I enjoyed the film in terms of like it's a good highlight of the political times. Domingo himself, because obviously this is our only opportunity to talk about the film, but Domingo himself carried the film. I thought he was the standout. With the ensemble cast was great. Like, don't get me wrong, but he was definitely head and shoulders above. And for him to lead a film like this, obviously, is a very important thing. He himself's gay. I don't know if you guys knew that. So it's obviously a very important thing for him to play such a person as Rustin. An important person both for the Black community and the gay community. So it's one of those films that, like, it's just important, and I think he does very, very well in it. He plays it with quite a lot of not comedy per se, but there's he plays it like with quite a bit of humor during some of the conversations. I feel like, and he's obviously very charming when it comes to the various young men that he talks to and stuff like that. I think he does use a bit of charisma. And I don't know much about Rustin himself, the guy himself, but I thought he was a very enigmatic character, and the way that he played him was great. So I would say, like, obviously we're going to come to at the end about who should maybe be nominated and who shouldn't be. I would say that this is a worthy Oscar performance as a lead actor. I think he's right to be up there with everybody else. I'm not going to win it, in my opinion, but I think very, very worthy of the nomination. Todd, what did you think?
Yeah, so he's one of the two where I don't think he's as weak as, or I wouldn't have him as weak as Bradley Cooper. I don't think there was anything that really stood out as being Oscar worthy for me. But I do think he carried the film, and I think the difference between this and Nyad, in terms of they are both biopics that didn't really grip me. This one, the reason that I rated this higher was because of Domingo. Like, it was his performance that kept me interested, and it was his relationships with other characters that kept me going. The end, where he sort of finds out he's fit, like, that for me was that hit me. Do you know what I mean? And I think maybe this is really stupid, but like, if that wasn't the ending, obviously it has to be because that's the man's life. But like, if that wasn't the ending, maybe I wouldn't have rated it so highly. Do you know what I mean? Where at the end you hit with that big impactful sort of moment. I think it that really sort of ramped it up for me. I thought it was a great performance. Where I've said, oh yeah, Bradley Cooper was fine, he was good. This was a great performance. I just think there were better performances throughout the year.
Fair enough. Okay, next one on the list is Paul Giamatti for the Holdovers. And Call it yourself.
Yeah, it's me. Yep. Yeah. Kind of similar start to what I said with Emma Stone. I love Paul Giamatti. I think he's an incredible actor. One of the films that I got put onto by Skip to the End, funnily enough, was Sideways. I don't know if either of you have seen that with him and Sandman.
I've not seen it, but I've seen it was on TikTok the other day, and I was like, "Oh my god, I need to watch this. Looks cool."
Yeah, so it's 2004, so it's a long time ago. But yeah, he's excellent in that, and I've loved him ever since. Even as Rhino, even as his brief little show in as Rhino. And obviously more recently, I've loved him in stuff like Billions, the TV show, and that. So when I seen him in this, I'm instantly drawn in to watch a Paul Giamatti performance. And it's back to the bug eyes. I just seem to be getting, my rotation of people to talk about seems to be bug eyes. But he actually wore a contact lens, I think it was, to have the lazy eye in this film. And I think from when you read about stuff about how he felt like filming it and stuff like that, it irritated him. And I think he brought some of that irritability. I don't think that's a word, but he brought that to the performance in terms of he just seems to be annoyed and generally like pissed off with the world throughout, which I think's excellent. Even like his first interactions in the classroom, and he's like lecturing the boys and he's using all these big fancy words. You can tell that he's like he's in a station below where he should be in life, and he's entirely embittered about it. Obviously, he's got his alcohol dependency and stuff like that, and he's really harsh on these young men. But on the flip side, he's being harsh to them, I feel like, and you learn this throughout the film, to push them to be better. whether, and then, Todd, you can even talk on this within your profession and stuff about like, you know, treat them kind of harshly, but in a kind of in a loving, caring way in terms of trying to push them on, because you can see that potential in them, and I think you can see that in Dominic Sessa's character eventually when he gets past the you're in a boarding school and stuff like that. But yeah, just the interactions, and I mentioned it obviously with Divine Joy's performance. Even that interaction with her when she's on the sofa and she's watching like whatever the TV program is, and he's like, "Oh, what's this? What's this?" And he's obviously purely an academic person, but he wants to branch out. He wants to have these interpersonal relationships. But I think like you're kind of it's hinted at throughout the film without being explicitly said, but like he's never managed to have those relationships or prolong those relationships, whether romantic or purely friendships and stuff like that. He seems like quite a lonely dude, but I thought he was quite charming in this, and I think him and Sessa's chemistry was fantastic. And yeah, obviously I'll pass it over to yourself, Todd, to talk on it, and then we can obviously discuss things further. But yeah, without hogging up all the time on him, Todd, what did you think of Mr. Giamatti and his bug eyes?
Yeah. I'm with you on his past roles and like the sort of bullshit that he's done. Have you seen Shoot 'Em Up with Clive Owen?
Great film.
Yeah, phenomenal, but it's ridiculous. Like,
oh yeah,
do you know what I mean? Like, and
it's not called Shoot 'Em Up. It's Shoot 'Em Up. So you know it's going to be ridiculous. You know.
Like at one point, there's a big sign that says it's like a boat, like a for a building or whatever. And they shoot the letters so that eventually it just says "fuck you," like, and then he shoots again and it says "fuck you" too. Just amazing. Anyway, yeah, I think going from that to this and just showing that he has that range to do the silly and the daft, and then to move to this was amazing. Just on the sort of tough but fair type thing, I think it's like he's like you say, he's pissed off with his lot in life. He's sick of where he's at, and he sees this sort of incredible young man who can go places, who can do things, and wants to push him. And I think the relationship between the three of them, because it's obviously the relationship between Sessa and Randolph, the relationship between Sessa and Giamatti and Randolph are all three very different relationships, and I think he ties them together very well. It's Giamatti who's like the rock between the three of them. Even just like the bit in the bar, I think for me was where, again, it's that sort of light charm, that kind of, he knows how to speak to people, he knows how to sort of de-escalate situations. I thought he was phenomenal. It reminded me of, have you seen the History Boys? Like the playing a film. It reminded me a little bit of that, but it wasn't as bitter, and I love that. I love that there was like heart to it right the way through, and even when he was coming across and the kids didn't like him or were certainly sick of him, you still felt that heart, you still felt it. And I thought it was from Giamatti where bit by bit he realizes he can't just be the bastard every time, he can't just be awful to them, he has to understand that these kids are living a life, or well, in particular, like Sessa's character is living a life when the rest of them leave them alone. Yeah, I felt for his character. I liked his character. I think he did an incredible job. Massey?
Yeah, he was great. He was absolutely wonderful. Again, it's hard to kind of disagree with what you guys have said. I think he's the chemistry that he brings with the other actors is whether it's chemistry of he wants him to suffer or not. It's just wonderful. I think he's so good. And it's one of those performances as well where like you almost you want to hate him but you can't because he's so charismatic, because he's like kind of one of those guys. But yeah, it's again a really layered performance. Like when he meets up with the person that he knew from, I think it was from like university or something, who'd went off to do like big things, and then he was obviously seen as just stuck there. And Sessa's character kind of backs him up and stuff, as he says he's like his uncle and things. Like just that as well. You can tell like the disappointment that's behind him, that he can he wishes he was in this guy's situation, that he was like kind of further on or higher up in life, I suppose. Yeah, it's just that it's an absolutely flawless performance for me. I thought he was absolutely wonderful. Any thoughts on any more thoughts on Giamatti, or should we move on to the next person?
I'm fine to move on.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I'm happy to move on.
So the next one is Cillian Murphy in Oppenheimer. Who is it?
It's Todd.
Todd, is it? Okay. I was wondering if it was you, Collie. Talk about
Well, I
this
was going
topic.
to say I didn't know if you wanted to start with Collie, but
Oh no.
I thought sorry, excuse me. It was Cillian Murphy's always put in a performance every single time, and it was only a matter of time before he got that lead role, and I think this has almost been sort of crafted for him. There's Jake Baldino, the guy who works for like Game Ranks and stuff, once described a character as looking like a cigarette, and I think that's the best way I can describe like Cillian Murphy or Oppenheimer. Like I know he's smoking a lot of the time anyway, but like he just looks so emaciated and ill the entire time, and I think it adds to this sort of incredibly flawed but also like troubled character. Like to understand that how brilliant you are and how clever you are is going to destroy, or could potentially destroy, the world. You see that in every single shot of Cillian Murphy right the way through, and even when, like, so for example, that really the scene where he sat on the chair naked, what somebody called the Basic Instinct moment, like even there, which is a scene that I think took, when I've been reading reviews and stuff, took a lot of people out of it. Like, they felt like it was a really sort of strange choice. I thought it was a phenomenal choice. I thought, like, he's vulnerable throughout the film, and like to take the clothes off the lad, like, just makes him even more vulnerable. He could have. I know I seem to be repeating myself. I apologize. He could have played it in a lot of different ways and got it very wrong. And you see the sort of the brilliant teacher and lecturer and scientist who wants to kind of inspire. There's the bit where he's talking about the paradox. It shouldn't work, but it does. And in that moment there, you're like, you fucking love what, like, as in Oppenheimer, loves what he's doing, loves what he's thinking about, loves what he's creating. I'm going to shut up, but I could talk about the performance for days. From that bright and expectant to the kind of the worry when he's talking to Einstein and that confusion of where this is going to go, to the moment that we talked about yesterday with the wall shaking behind him. Yes, that looks amazing, but it's sold by him. Again, non-verbal, total non-verbal. It's just him and that look on his face. It was incredible. The film is amazing. The film is phenomenal, but he made that film for me. Yeah, just ridiculous. I don't know if we move to Massey and then.
Okay, I'll just kind of give a quick short thing, and then I'll pass over to J. Robert Collenheimer. But yeah, I think he, like, it's his baby blues, I think, that really that help you, that draw you in, because you can't help but stare at them, and his facial expressions all the way through. You know, he's a troubled character, and he if you ever want to see the framework for how to play a troubled character, you just have to watch his performance. It is just exemplary. He didn't put a foot wrong. He didn't put an absolute foot wrong, and I think it's his best performance, maybe probably one of the best performances in a Nolan film ever. For me, I thought he was just absolutely outstanding. I'm going to pass over to our resident Oppenheimer executive. So go for it, Collie.
It just feels like everything that not only what he's done with Nolan previously, but everything that he's done has led up to this point. I think, like, if you told me 10 years ago or something like that Cillian Murphy was going to be a leading man in a Nolan film, I probably wouldn't have believed you. I think a lot of that maybe self-confidence in himself came from obviously leading Peaky Blinders as the lead guy in that, and it being such a revered kind of series. I know that's a TV series and it's completely different, but he carried that show as much as it was a great show in general. I think he carried that show. And then, yeah, obviously him and Nolan have this kind of bond that he's got with probably no other actor that he's worked with. Obviously, he had him in the Dark Knight films, then he had him in Inception, and then he's got him in this now as well. So I feel like this is the combination, not just of Murphy, but of Nolan as well in terms of their relationship. And yeah, it just it's the up and down parts of the film. It's the big bombastic moments when he's trying to inspire the scientists, to then his really fragile moments when he learns of Jean's passing away, and he's like obviously rode away in his horse and stuff, and then Kitty finds him. I mentioned that yesterday with Emily Blunt's performance, but Cillian Murphy shows him, as this broken man, this heartbroken man. So he does everything with this performance, and yeah, I can't really add too much, to be honest, from what you have said. I love this performance. I think it carries the film, which is saying something considering the ensemble cast, because every 2 minutes in this film it just seems like, oh my god, there's that incredible actor. Oh my god, there's that incredible actor. Rami Malek's in this, but he's dropped his clipboard. I wonder if he'll come back, and then obviously he does. Just stuff like that. But for Nolan to get this performance out of Murphy, who's a very good actor in his own right, I just don't think this performance would be the same with any other actor in that role, and I don't think that any other director apart from Nolan could have got this performance out of Murphy. But yeah, loved it. Like, yeah, pretty worthy, I would say, for an Oscar nomination. In summary, yeah.
Just about.
Pretty up there, yeah. I don't know, Bradley Cooper's a little bit better, maybe. But I loved it, and I think like, yeah, he was fantastic in this. Like I say, born to play this role, almost, to use a cliche thing, but yeah, brilliant.
Absolutely. Okay.
And he's such a nice guy. Sorry, he's just such a nice guy as well. Like, he's so, when you hear him talking about it, and he's just this like run of the mill guy who's very family orientated and stuff like that, but very driven at the same time. And I think he brings a lot of that to Oppenheimer as well, because Oppenheimer was a very, very driven individual.
Absolutely.
Right, I'll shut up about it.
No, that's fine. Absolutely fine. Okay, so we'll move on to the final one in Best Actor. We have Jeffrey Wright for American Fiction. Is it me starting?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, it's you.
Yeah, like we've obviously kind of touched on it when we spoke about Sterling K. Brown, but it's American Fiction is Jeffrey Wright's film. Like when he goes from serious author to the man that kind of just wants to almost stick it up to the publishers that won't publish his book because it's not black enough. And when he's going through the story, and you've got the sort of the visuals of the story happening in front of him, it's phenomenal, some of the stuff that he comes up with. Okay, it's obviously from the screenplay and stuff, but he does it with like a sort of gravitas that I don't know if anyone else could. I thought it was just an absolutely outstanding performance, where again he throws himself into it. He's not afraid to kind of make fun of, like, or even, satirize some of the language that people maybe expect from an African American, and things like that. I thought it was just an absolutely a really brave and also really quite a funny performance as well, which again I didn't expect kind of going into it. I thought it was going to be like a proper like drama, but again I suppose it's maybe, like we said, kind of maybe a bit different to what the Oscars normally go for. But yeah, I thought he was absolutely wonderful in this performance. Is a really, really worthy Oscar nomination for me. Collie, Jeffrey Wright.
I mean, I love Jeffrey Wright. He's the only actor that's ever made me cry at a James Bond film, so that's saying something. But yeah, he's brilliant in this. It's the comedic part of it that I think made me enjoy this the most. Like, because he's quite a smug, kind of arrogant, like, oh, I'm above all this kind of guy, you know what I mean? And then when he starts becoming this fictional character that he's created with this book that he sees as like, lowest common denominator, kind of low hanging fruit type things, And then the scene when he figures out or finds out that his girlfriend like read it and loved it, and he's just devastated about this fact. Yeah, I thought he was brilliant. I feel bad for him almost that he's up this year for something like this, because if it wasn't for, I know, spoiler, but if it wasn't for Cillian Murphy, like I think he would be my favorite for this. Yeah, I think he's brilliant. I feel like I was maybe a bit harsh on Sterling K. Brown when we were talking about him, but the interactions between him and Monk are some of my favorite. But it's when he first reconnect, or not even reconnects, but it's been a while since he's kind of interacted with his sister and stuff. I think I really enjoyed those conversations because he treats her as one of the few people I feel is like a peer. Almost, he speaks to her on a level that like he respects what she does and who she is and stuff. Whereas he does seem to be a bit above or treats everybody like he's above them in terms of his intellectual, and his mind and all that kind of stuff. So a really, really good and, like you say, Massey, like unexpected funny performance from a film that I didn't expect to be very, very, very funny. But I was giggling throughout, I guess you could say. Todd, what did you think of Jeffrey Wright?
Yeah, it was one of my favorite performances of the year. Like I think there was two trailers. So I watched one in the cinema that was all about this book that he'd written from like the black perspective that certain people wanted. And then the trailer that I watched at home, where I was like, "Oh, watch this. We need to go and see this," was about the family side of stuff. And it felt like there was two separate films. And I think he stitched those. He's put those together perfectly through his character. Like, it was well written, and I know we're not doing this, but best adapted screenplay for me by some stretch, and I think it's one of the best adapted screenplays we've had in a long time. But it was his performance that kind of married. There we go, I got it in the end. That married those two like parts of the film together really well, because he was believable in everything, because he was Monk. He lived that. Like the scene in the shop where he's moving the books, and the guy's like, we're gonna move them once you're gone, and he's like, okay, he takes them with him. Like, just silly things like that were still so believable, were still so well done. He had me from the word go. I think this will be a bit of a cult hit. I can see it like being a sort of a Criterion, or like not second sight necessarily, but like there'll be big releases of it and stuff for a specific type of people. And it was down to him. He was fantastic.
Yep, agreed. Okay, look. Was there anyone, or do you want to say who we think's gonna win? Then we'll do anyone that was missed. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, who do you want to win? Who do you think will win? I'm gonna go with Collie. Who do you think and who do you want?
I think Cillian Murphy will win.
Okay.
But I want Bradley Cooper. No, I want Cillian Murphy to win.
Todd?
Yeah, I think Cillian Murphy's got it nailed on. But I really want Jeffrey Wright to win it. Like he had me. It's up there for me. But I don't think you can look past Cillian Murphy.
Yeah, exactly same. I want and think Cillian Murphy will take it. I think it's exceptional. Okay, anyone we thought that was maybe passed over best actor?
Andrew Scott.
Yeah. Andrew Scott was one for Andrew Scott was one for me as well. So fire away.
Like I'm soft as shite, and in the way that it goes, but I don't really like get upset. Like, films don't make me cry all that often. It's got to be something really specific. I bawled my eyes out through All of Us Strangers, and it was because of his interactions with his dad. It was because of his interactions with Paul Mescal. It was this hurt, and for me, I think he was up there as that he could have won it. I don't think he would have because of Cillian Murphy, but he was certainly. He could have been one of those. So, yeah. Also, the dog from Anatomy of a Fall, I believe, was male. And
Messy.
That seizure, whatever. I was like, you better not have hurt that dog. Anyway, sorry. Yes. you look like you had like a couple more.
So I had Andrew Scott. I also had Christian Friedel from Zone of Interest.
Oh yeah,
I thought he was really, really good. But Teo Yu should have been nominated for Past Lives. Like, I thought he was amazing. Like, it's definitely Nora, Greta Lee's film. But I'd say like he's still the lead actor, and I thought he was amazing. Just like, but obviously we'll talk a bit more about Past Lives when it comes to Best Picture. But I thought he was amazing in it, and I was just devastated for the poor guy.
Mm-hmm.
Massey, do you have anyone?
Well, Zac Efron, like obviously spoke about Iron Claw. Yeah. And yeah, Andrew Scott was a big one for me, definitely, and especially having seen him in a lot of like the actors and actor stuff before the or the Actors Round Table stuff and Variety and things before the nominations were out. I was like, it's probably gonna be a shoe in, but obviously it wasn't to be, which is a shame. Okay, look, let's move on to the penultimate category. Okay, so we are now moving on to Best Director. So the nominations are Justine Triet for Anatomy of a Fall, Jonathan Glazer for The Zone of Interest, Christopher Nolan for Oppenheimer, Yorgos Lanthimos for Poor Things, and Martin Scorsese for Killers of the Flower Moon. So, Justine Triet for Anatomy of a Fall. I noted down it's your turn, Collie, so if you want to take it away.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, Anatomy of a Fall, its direction, I think, is probably its strongest point, I think. In terms of the direction of the courtroom scenes, it's nothing like out of the ordinary, but I think the way that the courtroom's set up and the way that it focuses on Sandra Hüller's character quite a lot, obviously because she's the one that's being questioned, I think is fantastic. And the way that it portrays, because it's quite a close shot, I felt like, for the prosecutor. So I think like that really, it made you like dislike him even more, I felt, because I felt like it was a directorial choice that the camera was in his face because he was in her face, kind of thing. Very antagonistic, very attacking and stuff. And then the shots when it comes to her interacting with her kid, and not only her interacting with her kid, but the kind of the person that's been put in charge of looking after him, because obviously she's not allowed to talk to him or whatever during the trial because she doesn't want, he shouldn't be influencing his recollection of things. I thought when they were going for their walks with the dog and stuff, like, just even though it was it wasn't really showing you the scale of where they were in. Is it Grenoble they were in? No, it was in France somewhere anyway. Yeah. Like, they didn't show you too much of the landscape, but from what you could see, it was stunning. So a little bit of a nod to, I don't know, the cinematography choices there would be great. But I thought in terms of like story building, it was very well paced because kind of talked about it when we were talking about Sandra Hüller's performance. It's kind of did she, didn't she kind of thing. And I think that really lends to the directing choices of like not showing explicitly what happened, but different situations. At one point, they're kind of talking about how the way that he died was like he was leaning over the balcony, he was bashed in the head, and then he fell over and stuff. And it shows you that. It's not like a figment of anyone's imagination. It shows you how that would have looked if she was actually doing it in that. And I thought that was good as well. It wasn't like leaving it to your imagination. It was showing like, if this is how it happened, which it could have been, this is what it would have looked like. So yeah, a really strong directorial performance, I thought. I think it really did elevate the film, because this could have been shot pretty poorly, and I thought it was shot really well. I thought it was just like nothing too fancy of that, but just solidly shot and kept you engaged the whole time. What did you think of Justine Triet's work, Todd?
Oh, wonderful. Yeah, I'm with you. I think it's one of those films that has no right to be as good as it is in terms of like as a descriptor, you know, like The Big Short type thing. But I thought it was really well directed. I think the courtroom scenes were a strong point here. Again, never work with children and animals is the old adage for films, and I thought, you know, the kid did a cracking job for what he had to do. Again, the dog did an amazing job. I just thought it was really well done. I don't think there's anything else I could really say. I'd like to say Sandra Hüller is an amazing actress, but has that sort of has that direction behind her. Yeah, really well done. I know we'll talk a little bit more on it. Things like the prosecutor and how much of a bastard he was, whether that was a directorial choice to like push him to be a little bit further and a little bit further, is an interesting one. I just think it makes that, like I said, that nightmarish quality a little bit more as well. Yeah, I thought she did a phenomenal job. Massey?
Yeah, I agree exactly with what you both are saying. I think you're absolutely spot on both saying about the prosecutor. I think without the way he was directed, I don't think you hate him as much, and I hated that boy, like absolutely despised him. So I think it was there's some very interesting directorial choices there. So yeah, not much more to add, but I think it was a very strong thing for, as you say, which could have been a real slog of a film, in terms of how they decided to show or how they decided to kind of move the film along. Certainly, it could have just been like a sloppy courtroom drama sort of thing, but it was kind of both, wasn't it? It was sort of like it was almost like a murder mystery and kind of courtroom kind of drama thing as well, which I thought was super interesting. Definitely. Okay, next director, sorry, is Jonathan Glazer for The Zone of Interest. So Todd, take us away.
Yeah, so I was lucky enough to catch this at the cinema, and I'm chuffed I did. I think it'll still be shown because it was out quite late, wasn't it? And again, it's a mundane family drama, like on its surface. I know it's not, but like in terms of the core concept of the film is the dad needs to move away from home to work in another place, despite the fact he has quite a high-power job in his organization, which feels really strange to say, but like genuinely, that's what it's about. And the fact then that obviously their house borders, like, has a fence with Auschwitz is the kicker for the film. I thought this was phenomenal. It was so dry, but then bolstered by the noises and the sounds and the constant, like, not threat, but this looming sort of shadow of, at times literal shadow and other times figurative. And I thought that was down to the direction. Things like the little lad when he's up in the bedroom playing with these soldiers and things, and then he hears the shouting of obviously like the Nazi commandants and stuff, the gunfire of the of people getting shot against the wall, and him just going and watching like it's a normal part, and then telling them to be quiet because he wants to play with these toys, and then getting back on with it. I thought it was haunting. Like, people talk about when the credits roll and you just sat, and I haven't done that. Actually, we did it after Dune 2 for a minute or so, just to kind of, I think, take in what was 2 3/4 hours or whatever. But this was, I think, the Zone of Interest, like 147, 145, 147, something like that. Like, and I didn't know where to put myself. I was supposed to be going out for some food afterwards, and like, do you know what I mean? Having a nice day, and I was like, I don't fucking want to. And it was because of like I said, the sounds, the noises. I thought the choice to show Auschwitz as a museum. I know it's a horrible way to put it, but that's what it is now. It's like a real museum to the past. Of them like cleaning the windows with the shoes and the hair and that was a phenomenal choice. I don't know how other people feel about it. It might be divisive, I'm not sure. But for me, I thought that was an incredible decision of just like, as far as I can remember, no real music, of a very limited amount of score, and just the noise of the Hoover and the footsteps and stuff around this place. And that was the only real sight we got of the camp. Was phenomenal, just incredible. And again, I think in a different year, this probably could have been up there, but I think there's others that are front runners. Collie?
Yeah, just a really, really powerful film, and a very interesting decision to not outwardly show any of the atrocities happening in Auschwitz. So I watched this again yesterday, and I had my headphones on. I had it like turned up quite a lot, and there's just this constant rumble throughout the whole film that you heard it in the cinema, and you can hear it in, like, if you turn up your headset properly or whatever. And it just unsettles you for the whole film, because it just feels like it's building and building and building. Obviously, building to nothing in the film or whatever, but it's just it looms. It absolutely looms over the whole film. directorially wise, it was interesting. They had that, obviously, the house that they were in, and there was something about like they set up cameras in the house, and that filmed them just like interacting like off screen and stuff like that. It felt like a Big Brother house type thing, and I thought that was interesting. I don't know like what that actually developed in terms of within the family dynamic for the actors and stuff, but the house and the garden, it feels lived in. It feels lived in, and like you say, it just feels like a normal family. Like when Sandra Hüller's mum's there, and she's just like, "Oh, this is the cabbages, and this is this, and this is that." It just feels like so like normal when it's really, really not. But yeah, I said about guy who played is it Hoss? Is it Hoss? Is the commander?
Yeah.
I think it's
Yeah.
or it's got Doom like over it, so I don't know exactly how to say it, but yeah, I thought he was amazing, and even just the subtle stuff, like when he's moved away. I think he's moved away at this point, and then the woman just comes into the room for a little bit, and then it cuts to him like in front of a sink, and he's washing his balls and stuff like that. Like, it's not outwardly saying there's no like sex scene or anything like that. It's just this guy is not only just an evil person for what he does, but he treats his family so disrespectfully when he's away and stuff like that as well. So there was no sugarcoating anything in the film, but it wasn't outwardly telling you stuff. It wasn't outwardly telling you what was happening across the wall. It wasn't outwardly telling you what he was up to, but there was just the hints here and there, the sounds or scenes like that. I thought it was just an unsettling, horrible film without showing you explicitly horrible things. I like the scene when he's in the river with his kids and stuff like that, and then there's the body parts and that like was just proper like what the fuck kind of moment as well in a very what the fuck kind of film. So yeah, like just not a film. I'll never say that I would enjoy a film like this, but just a film that it was an experience, and I'm glad to have experienced it, especially in the cinema. For sure. Massey, what have you got to say about
Yeah,
Glazer? I guess like I've kind of branched off into the film in general there, but it's hard not to.
no, definitely, I agree. I think it's one of those things that like it's almost an important watch. Like, I know it's said quite a lot, but like it really does kind of give you the horrors of kind of what happened without actually giving you the horrors of what happened. It's interesting you said there about the almost like feeling like a Big Brother house, because apparently that is what he wanted out of it. He set up these cameras and like basically had hundreds and hundreds of hours of footage, and I think it was maybe more to kind of get that almost realistic, like, you know, sort of feeling for it. And yeah, I mean, obviously the director kind of has like final say and stuff like that, but the sound design, like if it doesn't win sound design, like that's insane. Like it's got to be. It was so unsettling the whole way through. And yeah, like the choice from Jonathan Glazer to take us to the museum when we were still in the film at the time, because obviously Hoss has just come down the steps, the almost never ending staircase, and then looking to and then it really shocked me actually, the way that he looked down the corridor, and then you come to the thing, which I felt was him kind of saying like, yeah, this did really happen, sort of thing, almost like giving us that almost like a fourth wall break basically, which I thought was a super...
It was kind of, well, this is the result of the guy that you've just watched for 2 hours or whatever. This is what happened.
Yeah, exactly, and I thought that was like a really super interesting choice there from Jonathan Glazer. I thought it was a wonderfully directed film, and in a lot of time as well, even when the mundane stuff was happening, there was always like the big concrete wall in the background, or at the front of the house you could see kind of the gates where the trucks were going in and out and stuff as well. And that was always, as you said, Colin, about the rumbling always just happening, that was always just happening in the background as well, which I thought was a really effective way for Jonathan Glazer to almost show the severity of it without showing the severity of it, especially with the big chimneys billowing smoke out a lot of time as well. I thought was super affecting. But yeah, absolutely wonderfully directed, definitely. Yeah, it's a tough one because I feel like I want to watch it again, but it's like such a heavy thing, isn't it?
I was thinking, because I've only watched Schindler's List once, and it was the first time I watched it was last year, maybe, because I was like, when am I going to be in the mood to watch like a 3.5 hour epic or whatever about the Holocaust? I genuinely think I'll watch this again, more from just like an interest standpoint than anything else. But like,
A
it's one thing
zone
I've
of interest.
exactly, and we're back. One of the things I missed that was the there's a bit in the trailer that's seen every single time where she's trying the fur coat on and look at it in the mirror, and like, I just thought that was just her cat. Obviously, that's been taken from somebody who's been in prison in the camp. And then when she uses the lipstick, I felt physically sick. Like, that was a bit that, again, it's like it's shown something horrible without directly. No, at no point did he say they've taken it from prisoners. No, at no point is that said. But you just know.
Well, it's like the lad playing with the box of the gold teeth on his bed and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Like, that was like, what the fuck? Like, but
Gross.
it's the subtlety of it. Like you say, it's not very outwardly said.
But then I think not specifically when her mum comes, she says like, "I hope that like someone was in there as well, or something." You know, like her, like someone that owned a shop or something that was like perceived as better than her
Oh,
beforehand. But then when because she was obviously Jewish, she's almost like bragging the fact that she's not in the. Like, I thought it was horrible. Like to just come
Yeah,
from like
definitely.
a woman. You know, sorry, not that women can't be horrible.
Yeah,
but like,
I can't recall if I mentioned yesterday when we were saying about people that missed out on support an actress, but I thought Sandra Hüller could have been double nominated for this. I thought she was excellent in it.
definitely,
Just
absolutely.
excellent in terms of like just portraying a horrible person.
Yeah. A horrible, selfish person, really. Yeah. Okay. Let's move on to the next one here. So it's Christopher Nolan for Oppenheimer, and it is myself that is starting this one off. So, we kind of touched on again with the cinematography and stuff yesterday with how Nolan got the worked with again with the likes of Hoyt van Hoytma to come up with this wonderful film. Things like because I believe they actually even recreated Los Alamos and things on like a big scale, and his decision to obviously keep things as practical as possible. Again, just completely lend itself to the film and help it become what it is. Again, as well, we kind of touched on this as well with Cillian Murphy, but the Nolan and Murphy like duo, I just hope that they will do films for years together. I think obviously, they have worked together before, and as I think it was yourself, Colin, said about the bond that they've obviously come together with. Like I think it's one of those things that could go down as like an all time great, like duo. And I
It's
really
like a
hope
Scorsese De Niro type thing.
exactly, and like yeah, I really hope that they do continue to do that. I think Nolan's direction, his handling of a 3+ hour biopic that could have gone down a boring route, it never leaves. I think as well. This is the fact that Nolan wrote it.
He writted it.
He writted it.
Yes.
Nolan writted it as well. So it never like goes off into like a weird direction, or it never kind of like, he always has a grasp on it. It's always like he's the he never lets it go off in like a weird way. It's such a measured sort of film, in that he knows exactly what he's wanting from it, and I think where we're talking about how like Bradley Cooper is maybe thinking of was maybe split between things. This is purely Nolan being completely driven down one path with his direction of Oppenheimer. I thought it's just absolutely outstanding. It really is. It truly is. Shall we go to Collie, or we'll go Todd first before Collie?
Either or,
Just-
whatever.
Yeah.
I'll just quickly touch on it, because I don't think there's a lot more. I think the thing with Nolan and the control that he has over his films and the relationship he has with his actors, it's phenomenal. He's the man who sort of like we say him, Villeneuve, who are like really stepping up and taking those epic films. There was a thing about he'd like to do a horror film. I don't know if you saw it. Was like he's waiting for the really exceptional idea, was his words. And somebody said, "For God's sake, don't let this man make a horror film. He's the kind of person who would summon real demons just to avoid using CGI." And like, like there's been different versions of it across all sorts of social media platforms. But I just think, like for me, Nolan's attention to detail and his want for films to be right is the best thing about his films. Like Cillian Murphy carried a film that didn't need carrying. If that makes sense. He was the performance, and you've like you say, Rami Malek dropped a clipboard, and I was just like, wow. Do you know what I mean? He's incredible. And it's down to Nolan. It's down to his eye for detail. It's down for his want to for his films to be perfect. And even if, for example, Tenet, which didn't get the credit it deserved out of that, went to see it twice at the cinema. I enjoyed it. If it's not perfect for everybody, it's right for Nolan. Like he's making these massive films, but still for him. Yeah, I think we've pretty much covered it as we go, and I know Collie will probably cover a little bit more, but it's a masterwork. It's a masterwork of direction. Collie?
Yeah, I said this like after seeing it for the first time, and I'll reiterate it now. This is Nolan's best work for me, like by far, and that is saying something considering how much I love the rest of his work. I just think it's like I said, similar to with Cillian Murphy. I just think it's the culmination of everything that he's done since, and I think only Christopher Nolan could make a biopic about Oppenheimer like this. The fact that there's like multiple timelines in it and the way that it jumps about and stuff like that is such a Nolan thing to do, and I think he does it perfectly. A lot of people at the time and subsequently have said that the latter third of this film drags for them a little bit. It all builds up to the Trinity test, and then after the Trinity test it's boring to them. But whereas I think that it only gets better after that. I think the reveal of Strauss being behind everything, and you kind of know that he is prior to the fact, but like all the culmination in him getting rejected for the seat that he's running for, which is like a very rare thing to do, like Alden Ehrenreich's characters saying, you know, nobody ever gets rejected from it, this is a formality. And then he realizes that Strauss was behind it just as everything's unraveling. Like for us, we're seeing the film through his eyes almost in terms of the Strauss stuff. But yeah, just the time jumps, amazing. The casting is incredible. Like obviously Cillian Murphy, obviously Robert Downey Jr., but then like Emily Blunt, Matt Damon, Florence Pugh is Jean. Like we've not talked on her once, I don't think. Josh Hartnett, I thought as Lawrence the Professor, I thought he was amazing. Casey Affleck's in it for 5 minutes, but he's so scary. He's so scary in that. Like, it's when Matt Damon's explaining to him that he was the son of a Russian dude, and he's killed communists. Like he's killed commies in real life is pretty much what he's saying. Jason Clarke's incredible as Roger Robb. Dave, I always forget how to say his name. David Dasmalkian.
Yeah.
Dasmalkian. He's amazing. Dane DeHaan's amazing. You know, like just top to bottom. David Krumholtz as like his Isaac Rabbi, his best mate or whatever. He's hilarious in it. Like he is proper funny. And then it's just how he constantly offers him food and stuff like that. Like just top to bottom, such like a tight film. Like such a tight film. And we kind of talked on it about like Villeneuve in 2049, like Ridley Scott criticizing it for stuff that you could remove. I wouldn't remove a minute of this film, I don't think. And it's a long film, but I wouldn't remove a minute of it because I think it all builds up to that final scene of him talking to Einstein. So again, Tom Conti as Einstein was I thought was amazing as well. He says that when they were recording in Berkeley and that people were just like double taking him because he looks like him. And he was like, I was waiting for somebody to ask because he'd be like, it's me, Einstein. I just arrived. I figured out everything. I can now time travel or whatever. But yeah, just start to finish, an amazing film, and yeah, just I know we're going to talk about it again, so I'll just stop there. But yeah, like Nolan's a genius, and our, you know, my idol, my inspiration, one of my best friends in the world, Mark Woody, asked me yesterday, or Friday, sorry, would you rather watch all of Villeneuve's work in a day, or would you watch Nolan's? And I said to him, I have no idea. And I had recency bias, I think, from our Villeneuve episode, and I said Villeneuve, but after talking about Nolan, I don't know. I genuinely don't know. I think we live in a time that we're actually so lucky to be surrounded by directors like Nolan, and the fact that this is going to be his first Oscar, spoiler alert for who I think is going to win it, is insane to me. Is insane. I was reading an article of, like, you know, some of the misses and stuff for nominees. So it's like something you could say that no one could disprove, but then hot take to spice things up. Nolan winning for Oppenheimer is nothing more than a makeup Oscar for Tenet, and I was like, I don't agree with that per se, but I did think that was quite funny. You know, for the fact that Tenet, which is a stellar film, is, like, arguably, in my opinion, one of his lesser works, is incredible. But for this, I came out it blown away, and it blows me away every time I watch it. There's always something else that I, like, notice or enjoy or whatever. Like, I seen it last night in the cinema, and I was so buzzing to see it in between our recordings to refresh stuff. That, yeah, it was class. And even on, like, a relative small cinema screen, it's still incredible. Yeah, Nolan's pretty good.
Let's move on to the next one. So we have Yorgos Lanthimos for Poor Things. Now we're on to Collie here.
Yes. So Yorgos Lanthimos is a basket case to be all about. Like, the guy is a genius, but his mind does not operate on this mortal coil. I don't think the guy's batshit crazy, and Poor Things reflects that. We've talked about it a fair bit. Obviously, cinematography, and then supporting for Ruffalo, and then lead actress for Emma Stone. But I think, like, the whole cast is really good. Like, really liked is it Rami Youssef, Willem Dafoe? I thought they were really good. And even just, like, even the lassies that were in the kind of the brothel with Bella, I thought they were really good. But I think the best thing about this film, apart from, you know, Ruffalo and Stone, is the set design and the visuals of the film, and even, like, weird stuff like when Willem Dafoe, like, burps and the little bubble flies away and stuff. Like, who comes up with that stuff? Who comes up with that stuff apart from Yorgos Lanthimos? You know what I mean? Like his previous work's incredible as well. If folk that are listening that haven't checked out his work, and maybe Poor Things is their first exposure to it, please go and check stuff out. He's a genius, and as much as I was, like, you know, loving on Nolan and Villeneuve there, I think living in a time when he's making films is really important as well. Him and Emma Stone's, I think they've already filmed, I think, another project together, another feature film together. I'm sure, I can't remember the name. Right. I'll look when one of you are talking, maybe. But they've already filmed another feature film together. So similar to the Murphy Nolan, similar to the De Niro and DiCaprio Scorsese kind of connection. Like, Emma Stone and him seem to just be wanting to make crazy stuff, and I'm all for it. Yeah, Todd, do you want to take over maybe? But I thought, like, only he could make Poor Things the way that it is, and as effectual and as good as it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm. It's interesting talking about his back catalogue, because as much as they are as batshit crazy as this, they're very different films. Like, I've only just recently watched Dogtooth, which I don't know if you've seen, but
I've not seen it yet. No,
wild old film. But even like The Lobster, and The Favourite, which feel a little bit more grounded. Obviously, The Lobster's taken outside reality, but it's a human story essentially, and The Favourite is as well. Like, they're still weird. They're still so strangely put together, and I think this is him sort of being given a blank check of just going, just do what you want, and it's proved that he's not up his own arse, that he's not some he's not doing it for the sake of being arty. I have an issue with and there's a lot of films that I haven't seen that I need to catch up on, but with David Lynch, and when I'd said, like, about Eraserhead just being just shoot, and somebody was like, yeah, he's doing it because he can, and I was like, yeah, and that's part of the problem. Eraserhead was dog shit, one of the worst films I've seen. Excuse me. Where he's doing it because he wants to, because he believes these ideas convey, these, like, the set, like you said, convey an idea, the wildness of the way that Bella moves. I'm sure that wasn't just an Emma Stone decision. Do you know what I mean? That isn't just on her. that's coming from Lanthimos just being, this is what I want from you. Go with it. Let's try it. Because I do think from interviews and stuff, and I know we're saying we try and keep it on screen as possible, but like from interviews, he seems to have such a good relationship with the cast, and I think that's important. And I think that's maybe where like Maestro fell down, and where Bradley Cooper's trying all these things. Where was it like they weren't allowed to sit down
I
on
think
set?
so.
Like you weren't like where instead of it being like this is my project, it's a collaborative thing. And I think this film is a sum of its parts with him at the helm. Again, I think we've talked a lot about it, and we've talked as much as we can. But like you say, I think we're lucky to see him making a film that he's got A, the balls to make, and B, the sort of permission, because it's A24 as well, isn't it? I'm sure that it's out of A24. So they unfortunately they're backing weird projects now. Obviously, some of them don't come off as well as others, but it's good that they're letting people do that. So
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I think it's we spoke about Poor Things in quite a few different categories, but like I said with Emma Stone, it's the bravery of Yorgos to do this. It's such a brave performance from not only Emma Stone but from him to put all this on screen, because it is just absolutely crazy. There are a lot of like arty farty shots, or that could be construed as arty farty, but they work so well in the whole kind of sort of world of this film, and it just complements things completely. So yeah, it's brilliant. And I actually I'd seen The Favourite beforehand, and I thought that was kind of insane as well, before seeing Poor Things, and that was my first kind of two Yorgos things. And I've subsequently went back and watched Killing of the Sacred Deer, which but I've not seen Lobster or Dogtooth yet, but it's like he's one of those directors that like I'll easily sit down and watch his films. I think he's such a interesting director, and there's nobody else does it like he does, which is which could sometimes be construed as maybe trying to be unique, but I think he just does things so differently from everyone else, and I'm all for it. Did you find that film, Collie, that they've done together, or did you look at
A Kind of Kindness? I think it was
Okay.
called. It was filmed in late 2022, so it's been made. It's got Willem Dafoe and Jesse Plemons in it as well as Emma Stone. So
Oh, banging. Perfect. Okay, let's move on to the final director here in the Best Director category. We have Martin Scorsese for Killers of the Flower Moon. So, Todd, take us away.
Just before I do, did we say DiCaprio for Best Actor? As in,
No,
like,
don't think it is.
when we
he's
said
missed out.
who else should be nominated, I think
Oh.
we missed him out, didn't we?
I wouldn't have said him. So
Yeah, same.
All right, fair. I think to get that kind of performance out of DiCaprio is, I don't think, looking back on his filmography, I don't think there's anything where he's played such an underfoot character, especially in more recent years, since he's been taking on these like prestige films and the big budget things. I think it gets to a point now where Scorsese has a sort of a way of working, and he knows what works. You know, he doesn't have to sort of he's not going for the wild and the unique, because he has his tropes that he sticks with, and that's. I know it sounds like a bad thing. It's by no means a bad thing. I think he gets the performances that he needs out of the actors. Like say Lily Gladstone, who we all agreed either want to have it nailed on or has it nailed on. To get that from her and to be able to direct her in a story that more than likely means so much to her, and like say from interviews and stuff clearly does, I think was huge. Again, a lot of the cinematography and stuff we've talked about, a lot of those scenes, but it's down to him that I think. Again, was it 3 and a bit hours?
3 hours 26 minutes. I seen on Twitter last night.
Doesn't feel like it whatsoever, and I think that's down to him. It's down to like the fact that the scenes that are there mean something. You've got this kind of relationship between the different characters. I thought it was phenomenal. I think again, I'm conscious that we're getting into sort of best and I'm trying to split the difference and also not go on forever. Massey.
So you may know that I have my criticisms about this film, and that's just my sort of take on it. Again, we'll talk about that when we get into Best Picture. In terms of like a directorial thing, I think it's phenomenal, like unbelievable from Scorsese. And I've had my criticisms of Scorsese, but I think again for him to have got the performances he got, to have come up with some of the visuals that they did for this film, for it to be a really long overlong film in my mind, but again we'll come to that. But for it didn't actually feel like that. I felt it was paced really well, although again I would have had it a bit shorter. But I feel like he did a fantastic job of, again, not letting it kind of go too far. We kind of spoke about like maybe 4 hour cuts with Napoleon and stuff like that. But I don't think he ever let it go that far. And I think the core story was really well conveyed. But again, I think the main thing is the performances that he got out of people. And I thought that it was in terms of directing performance, it was, I would say, one of the better ones from the nominees that we've had this year. I thought it was a fantastic directorial performance from Scorsese. Collie?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a massive fan of pretty much everything he's done. Silence is one of, I wouldn't say it's one of my favorite films of like the last X amount of years or whatever, but like it's just such a strong film. And similarly with this, he's like the master, I think, of shots that any other director, even the likes of Nolan and stuff, would make a 30-second to 60-second shot. He makes it 3 minutes, 4 minutes, whatever. So the scenes where Lily Gladstone's on the bed and she's drugged and stuff, and then it's like Ernest is contemplating taking it himself to see the effects on him, and he's lying there beside her. It's such a long scene for what is amounting to not much. I just thought he's the master at what he does. I think, and there was some of the stuff like even the sound in this film was great, I thought. But one thing that stuck with me at the time, and it stuck with me through other rewatch or subsequent rewatches of it, is when her sister Anna's found dead, and Lily Gladstone's like, she's out for like lunch or whatever, and the sheriff guy comes, oh, it's your sister Anna, and then it cuts immediately to her in the wood and she's walking through all the people. Mm-hmm. The way that it's shot, like from her perspective, walking through people, and then also it's shot from the people looking at her, I thought was really, really interesting. And just sorry, I'm getting to the sound point in a minute. Is that obviously she identifies Anna or whatever, and it's horrible. Like she's, but then she's still there. Like she's still there, and they're like cutting open her head, and like all you hear is the saw blade like cutting off the top of her head, which is grim. And then De Niro wanders over. He's like, "Oh, she's with God now," and stuff like that. And she's like covering her ears and like getting so upset. Oh, that was a harrowing scene for me. And then just on a bit, like it was quite a gory film in a handful of places. One of them was post the bombing in the house of her other sister. Is that you see her sister, and her sister's lying there, like it looks like she's sleeping or whatever. They're like, "Oh, they found her or whatever," and you're, "Oh, maybe she's still alive." And then they pull her up, and the back of her head is like completely squished in that. That was just, it was quite not out there or whatever for Scorsese, but like he does not shirk away from like brutality in his films, and this was no exception. I think his choice to push Lily Gladstone to be like the forefront of this film, and he must have talked to DiCaprio about it, being like, "Look, dude, like you're not going to be the star of this film. It's about Lily Gladstone. The film is your story, but it's not about you," kind of thing. Like I think that choice, and obviously with the respect that DiCaprio must have for him to allow, like, to do that for him, essentially is amazing. So yeah, like he's been the master of cinema for however many years now, and he still continues to do so. The Irishman, we never talked about obviously on this podcast, but the Irishman's very divisive, and I understand why. But I feel like even for me, and I loved The Irishman. Even for me, I think this was like a return to proper Scorsese and proper like epicness. I loved it, and he's the man.
Good stuff. Okay, look. So let's go into what we think, or who we think will win, and who we want to win. Collective unit. Tell us a bit about who you'd like to win, who you think will win.
I think I want Nolan, obviously. But I would say that every director in this category, I've not really mentioned it when I've talked about the films, but every director in this category, I think, is a deserving nominee.
Todd?
Yeah, I'm with Collie on that. I think you wouldn't replace anybody. I think Nolan will get it. I think he should get it, but I want Lanthimos to win it.
Perfect. Yeah, I really want Nolan to win it. I think Scorsese's going to take it. I do. Yeah, I think so. But I really want Nolan to win it. Definitely. Okay. Was there any?
Nope. Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes,
I caught myself. Don't you worry.
So I was looking for like, I'll just do first for who I think maybe should have been nominated. I was looking through a few of them, and obviously, God, her name escapes me. Greta Gerwig.
Yeah.
It was one kind of big miss in terms of like the publicized big miss. But I was looking at like just like loads of films that were directed last year. I was thinking about, and I was reading the article that I was saying about, you know, some things that maybe was missed and stuff. And they said Chad Stahelski for John Wick Chapter 4. And I was just like, I maybe don't agree with that, but like they were like, he filmed 4 of the greatest action sequences ever in a single movie. And I was like, that's probably right. So maybe not like Oscar nominated or like in replacement of anybody else, but similar to Todd with his horror, I feel like the likes of that or Mission Impossible and stuff, like maybe they're not saying the deep Oscar baity stuff, but they're still excellently shot films and that. So I thought that was quite, maybe not one that I agree with, but I thought that was an out there one. And then Celine Song for Past Lives, I thought maybe should have been nominated as well.
Todd,
Massey, you got anyone else?
But Past Lives was mine. Again, I'll champion All of Us Strangers because I think it deserved a little bit more of a look in. But I'm with you on John Wick. I don't know why, in terms of like it's not an Oscar film, but like you say, Barbie's not a typically Oscar film. I would argue American Fiction at times isn't a typically Oscar film. The action set pieces in John Wick John Wick 4 were flawless, were just incredible, and I don't know why you wouldn't give it to them. Massey, I don't know if there's anybody else.
Yeah, I mean, Greta Gerwig's the big one for me. That's the only one I can think of. And even then, I'm like, who'd I take out? Maybe Justine Triet, but then is that really deserved? I don't know. It's one of those where, like, again, I don't know why they wouldn't just be like, okay, there's 6. You know what I mean? And chuck in Greta Gerwig in there or something. Again, would you win it? Probably not. But still, the what she did was definitely worthy of some sort of nomination or like stuff there. So yeah, it's one of those that I don't feel too bad. I don't feel like there's been massive misses, but yeah, it's what it is. Okay, so we are going to go into the final category, and the final category, of course, as always, is the best picture. So the best picture nominees, we have American Fiction, Barbie, The Holdovers, Killers of Flower Moon, Maestro, Oppenheimer, Past Lives, Poor Things, Anatomy of a Fall, and The Zone of Interest. Now, this is where we can get a bit more, although we have kind of talked quite a lot about a lot of these films, but we can get a bit more maybe general. There's obviously a lot here, and we're pushing 3 hours again. But yeah, also, of course, we'll discuss these in a wee bit more detail. So I will start us off, because it's me to go, with American Fiction. Where again, I thoroughly enjoyed this film. I thought it was one that as I was touched on, I didn't expect it to be like it was, and as you said, Todd, there was different trailers that kind of gave different sort of genres for it and stuff as well. But I thought a wonderful film, perfectly played by Jeffrey Wright, and it's absolutely. I think you're absolutely right when Todd, I think you said about the adapted screenplay, like the writing in it is so sharp, it's so clever, it's so funny, it's so touching. It is just a truly wonderful film, and it's one that, like, when I watched it, I was like, oh, not 100% sure if I totally get it. But then the more I thought about it, and the more like I waited after it, I'm like, yeah, I want to watch it again. Like that was, I think there's a lot of like bits and pieces that are kind of maybe just behind the sort of the front of it. So yeah, a truly wonderful film. And I definitely, well, I mean, they're all, I would say most of them are worthy nominees here. But yeah, I think it's well worth its nomination. Collie?
Yeah, I kind of can't really say too much that we've not covered already. Jeffrey Wright, outstanding in this film. Again, excellent actor. Just a lot of like humor that I wasn't expecting in the film. Just a tight film and worthy of a nomination in Best Picture. I know, like you say, we've talked a lot on, but I think we can maybe fly through quite a lot of these by just echoing what we've said earlier. Really, to be honest, Sterling K. Brown maybe shouldn't have been nominated for Best Supporting, but I'm happy that he is. Did put in a good performance. I thought the whole cast did as well. But yeah, I also I wanted to quickly talk on, just give me 2 seconds to talk about Sinatra, the female writer, obviously that he's got a bit of beef with. I thought she was really good in Barbie, and we're going to obviously talk about Barbie in a second, but I thought she was actually good as one of the ensemble Barbies. And she was really good in her kind of verbal sparring with Jeffrey Wright, and I thought this when they're on the Skype call, and it turns out that he agrees with her, and his realization of that I thought was quite funny. But yeah, great film, worthy of a nomination in Best Picture. Can't really say too much else. Todd?
Yeah, we've pretty much covered it. I think the script is one of the best scripts I've seen in a very long time. Jeffrey Wright's amazing. Like he was incredible. I just think it's one of those films that has everything for me. It's not too heavy. It's not too light. It has heart. Like I say, the writing was phenomenal. I don't know. I can't really say much else on it because we've talked on it quite a bit. It's up there for me as one of my favourites of last year / the beginning of this year.
Perfect. Next one in Best Picture is Barbie. Collie, take us away.
Oh yeah, sure. Sorry, I must have mislabeled. Yeah, so I loved I loved Barbie. Again, I did see it with Oppenheimer subsequently after it and thoroughly enjoyed it. An important film, not necessarily for me, an important film, but just a really good piece of filmmaking by Greta Gerwig. Our casting of Margot Robbie, I believe Gal Gadot was originally supposed to play Barbie, which would have been a completely different film, I feel. Margot Robbie, we didn't really get to talk on her because she wasn't nominated for Best Actress, but I thought she was phenomenal. She played the kind of silliness of Barbie very, very well. Kind of taking on the role, knowing that it's not a quote unquote serious character, but like there's this very serious message behind it. So I thought she nailed it. She was very funny, and the fact that her and Gerwig worked very closely on a bit of the writing and a bit of the producing of the film. She was very much involved, more than maybe a lot of other lead actors and actresses were. I think she was given a lot of time and an opportunity to put her stamp on it, and I thought she was great. And then all the other Barbies I thought were really, really good in supporting. The Kens as well were hilarious. Your man who plays Shang-Chi, I can't remember the name off the top of my head.
Liu.
I thought he was really good as like the rival to Gosling's Ken. And then I'm Just Ken's obviously a standout musical number as well. I really hope that wins the Oscar. I really hope it does. If not just for a similar reaction to Gosling had it, whatever the other awards was with that gift. But yeah, really, really enjoyed it. And again, a worthy nomination. Arguably should have had a few more nominations, again, that we have discussed already. So yeah, Todd, what did you think of Barbie overall?
Yeah, I think it's wild that Margot Robbie was skipped over because, like you say, it's a phenomenal performance that puts across a message without shoving it down your throat, and the message is better than some of the other films that are trying to convey a message. It's really well put together. Everything about it, set design, like you said, ensemble cast's amazing. Even bloody like Michael Cera as I want to say Alan. I don't know why I had Keith in my head. Alan. Yeah, as Alan was excellent. Like that little sort of that introduction of him. I'm excited to see I'm Just Ken performed live. I think that's good. Again, I think he's going to chuck everything into it. Greta Gerwig delivered one of the biggest films ever, and needs to be acknowledged for that. I don't think it'll win it, but I think it's a worthy nominee, and a film I'll revisit over and over again, considering it's about Barbie. Massey?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think ever in our lives ever again, or maybe not even just in our lives, will we ever see a phenomenon like Barbenheimer. And it's insane to think that just happened, like, basically word of mouth. And it all happened essentially from spite, didn't it? Where Warner Brothers wanted to take Nolan's Weekend, but it ended up being great for both. And it's such a wonderful movie. And Collie, I know you said there a while back we spoke about Barbie, was it for Gosling, I think, when we spoke about how you were like the only guy there in the cinema and stuff. And like, it's not a film for kids. That's what's so wild about it, is that it's a film about Barbie, which is obviously a kid's toy, but it's so much more mature than that. And that was something that really, really stuck with me. The whole, even like the montage with like the mothers and their kids, after she's spoken to the creator of her, like and set to, I think it was the what was I made for, Billie Eilish song. Like, that is such a touching moment as well. We spoke about America Ferrera's monologue as well. It's those sort of moments aren't for me, but I empathize with them so like vividly, and that is an absolute testament to what Greta Gerwig did and what everyone else on the set did. Talking about the set as well, set design, like, it's incredibly well done. Like the world, the Barbie world, and how it's came to life, and it was all pretty much practical, as far as I'm aware. Like, that's insane. That's absolutely insane for them to be able to do that. Yeah, it's a wonderful film. When I watched it, I gave it 5 stars, and when I rewatched it, I've given it 5 stars again. It's one of those that I can't not enjoy. It's just made to be enjoyed. So yeah, absolutely stunning film, and I'm so glad it got a nomination. Okay, on to the next one, which is The Holdovers. Todd, would you like to start us off with that?
So yeah, I think we've touched on pretty much all of the composite parts of it. Giamatti's amazing. I think in a different year he'd have been up there as the winner. It's quite an Oscar-y film without really feeling like one. That sort of, the lonely man who wants to try and push himself to be something better but doesn't have the wherewithal. Like, say, if Davine Joy Randolph wins it, there'd be no issue there. She did a phenomenal job. Sessa, in his first feature film, or in his first film, full stop, it's the only thing on his IMDb page, isn't it? That's ridiculous. You could never tell. Again, it's a film that on the surface sounds bland, sounds a bit boring, but when it's put together it's really heartwarming, really enjoyable film that I'll watch again. Feels like, obviously, because it's set over the holidays, it does feel like a Christmas film, but it's one that you could watch all year round. I think the relationship between Sessa and Giamatti that builds, like when he stands up for him, doesn't he, when he's going to get sacked, and he kind of like tries to stand his ground for him. I thought that was an amazing moment that we didn't really touch on. But yeah, incredible film, and I think one that's unlucky to be nominated around such like behemoths and things that are so different, because it could have done very well in a different year. Colin?
Yeah, like you say, we've touched on quite a lot of it. A worthy nominee. It hits all the right notes in terms of humor and heartwarming stuff. Giamatti is incredible in it, as are the supporting cast. Which only one out of the 2 of the main 3 in the film, if that makes sense, got nominated. So yeah, excellent film, and again, it would have been up there if it wasn't for some of the other nominees this year. So yeah, not too much to add on that. Massey, do you have anything?
Um, yeah, it's one of those films that for me, I think like the pieces are better than the full picture for me. Don't get me wrong, I enjoyed the film. I thought it was a fine film. I think it was like a really well made film as well. Obviously, he wasn't up for director, but like I feel like the production was really good. Like make it feel like it was like set and almost like filmed in this like 70s and stuff. Basically, the film didn't quite do it for me like others did, but I think it's one of those where like I'd like to rewatch it around Christmas time, and I think it would be a lot more effective for me. But again, like that's not taken away from the parts of it, the acting performances and like the set design and stuff like that as well. I thought was absolutely wonderful. Yeah, I don't think it will win. Obviously, there's only going to be one winner out of all these, but yeah, it was fine. It was fine for me. It didn't blow me away as I kind of hoped, to be perfectly honest. Okay, moving on to the next one, which is Killers of the Flower Moon, and it's myself obviously taking this one. It's kind of similar to the Holdovers. Like, I really enjoyed a lot of the performances. I really enjoyed a lot of like the cinematography and things as well. It's not my type of film. Again, I think it's one of those that that is good for what it is, but it's just not really for me. I'm more into like your Barbies are like a couple hours long, pink, fun. No, but yeah, no, it's a good film. It's a good film, and I think the length kind of takes it away a little bit for me. Not that it, like I said with director, I think it's paced really well. It's just I don't know if I have the enthusiasm to go back and watch like a 3.5 hour film. But again, I think a lot of it was really good. But again, I felt quite underwhelmed by this one, like I did with Holdovers as well, to be perfectly honest. Collie?
Yeah, I kind of talked on a lot of it. Obviously, when we're talking about Scorsese, but yeah, I think it's a return to form from him. I wasn't bored for a second of it. I seen it in the cinema when it was released at IMAX, and it was engaged me the full time. I thought it was excellent. Like great cast, like top to bottom. Good meme in Jesse Plemons rocking up, being like, "I'm here to investigate that murder." There's a lot of legs in that one, so that's good. But yeah, I just thought the kind of dynamic between DiCaprio and Gladstone was really good, as was the dynamic between De Niro and DiCaprio as well. So yeah, a solid entry into Scorsese's amazing filmography. Worthy nominee of Best Picture, and one that I'll definitely if I've got an hour and a half free, an hour and 45 free if I watch it 2 times, I will watch it again.
I didn't have the luxury of seeing it at the cinema. I used the free trial that I got with my phone of Apple TV to watch it. So I had if it was going to be boring, I had the opportunity to sit and scroll on my phone or like read. Do you know what I mean? I could have easily been distracted and didn't at all. It didn't drag for me. And I think that says a lot about the film. I think we've talked a lot on it. I do think DiCaprio was excellent. I know, like, we haven't talked a lot about him, and like I say, it's again showing that range and showing the opportunity that he's being given, like you say, by Scorsese, to not be the lead. He is the lead man, he is the lead actor, but not be the lead character type thing, not to be the one that has the focus on them. I think considering how good De Niro's been, it's some of his best work, and I think it's always nice to be introduced to an actress. Or any actor or actress, but like nice to be introduced to somebody who I've not seen a lot of, and I'll keep an eye on in the future in Lily Gladstone.
Good stuff. Next one is Maestro. Collie.
Yeah, so this is the reason I got excited thinking that I was going to talk about Oppenheimer first. So that's why I thought I didn't realize I was doing Barbie. But yeah, Maestro. Film was okay. Performances were okay. Not a worthy nominee in my opinion. Should have been a few other options, perhaps. Kind of covered it. We've kind of shit on it a little bit, throughout both episodes. Yeah, both episodes because we did cinematography yesterday. So else to add, to be honest. Not going to win it. Never should win it. And if it wins it, I'll never record another Oscars episode again.
Oh,
Todd.
Yeah, it's very much the game's gone, isn't it? If it wins it, I'm not gonna. We've been going for a while now, and I'm not gonna sort of waste time on being negative about it because I didn't enjoy it. And I think I marked it a little bit higher on Letterboxd. Can't remember what I give it, but I think I marked it a little bit higher than what I probably want to now that we've talked over it. Not a worthy nominee. I think it's taken the place of a couple of other films that could have been in a, like I said, they've spoken to the right people and had the right help along the way, I think. Massey?
yeah, totally agree. It's hard to say much more. It's not a phenomenal film. It's not a Best Picture nominee. In the same way that like Killers of the Flower Moon holdovers are films that maybe didn't like hold me as such, or I didn't like enjoy as much. I see why they were nominated for Best Picture. I don't with Maestro. So yeah, there's no way it wins, is it? No way, surely.
No.
Surely.
The game's gone if it does.
But we'll see. Okay, next one is Oppenheimer. Todd, take us away.
What else do you say when you've said it's a masterclass of directing? The lead actor's best performance, the supporting actress's best performance ever, the supporting actor's best performance ever. A cast of people who I was having a look on IMDb. We didn't even mention like the likes of Kenneth Branagh didn't come up in a conversation in a
Oh shit, I did.
like it's mad that like again we didn't touch on Florence Pugh, who is one of the best actors working. Period. Just full stop is one of the best, and we didn't mention her because there's so much other things going on. It's incredible. It's one of those that will go down as the all-time best. And although Barbie, in terms of money, obviously rocketed past it because of the wider reaching audience of kids and stuff like that. It was Oppenheimer's day. It was Oppenheimer's. Do you know what I mean? It's Oppenheimer's year. And the fact that, like you said, won't get costume, won't get set, I think, with the two that they were up for, probably won't break the records, but by all rights should have been smashing through those records because of how good it is. Massey?
Yeah, it's hard to say much more, isn't it? It's absolutely ridiculous film. It's one of those films that when I first watched it and I watched it in the cinema, like I really, really enjoyed it, but like I've said before, like I struggle to like fully engage if there's not subtitles, and I kind of got that. I don't know if it's because I was tired from, I think I watched Barbie the day before and stuff as well. But see, watching it at home with subtitles and stuff like that, like able to pick up the intricacies and things, it's just unbelievable. Like it's a perfect film for me. Like I can't say much more than it's got everything. It delivers on every single aspect, and it is absolutely insane. Robert J. Kollenheimer.
I could do this now that we're ready to talk about it, but it's my favorite film of all time now. I would probably say. Yeah, I think I prefer it to The Dark Knight. Yeah, I don't know what else to say apart from it's my favorite movie of all time now.
Love it. Love it.
I've even changed it on Letterboxd now as well, so it's official.
Oh, that's insane. Well, I'm glad for you. I think it's a well worthy to be someone's favorite film of all time. Don't have much more to say about Oppenheimer, do we? So let's move on to a film that we're touching on for the first time in these two parts, which is mental. But it's Past Lives. So a quick synopsis: Nora and Hae-sung, two deeply connected childhood friends, are rest apart after Nora's family emigrates from South Korea. Decades later, they're reunited for one fateful week as they confront destiny, love, and the choices that make a life. Yeah, it's funny. It's one of these films that I don't think is really made for me, or I wasn't sure, but I did really enjoy it. I thought it was had some beautiful cinematography actually as well, in the way that it was shot. The performances were wonderful. Even of course, Greta Lee was great as Nora. and she's wonderful in New Girl as well. If you've never watched New Girl, I'm a big advocate for that. But she was wonderful in this film. I really liked her husband as well, like the English, or the not the English guy, the American guy. I've seen him in a few things as well. I watched Big Short the other day. He's in that as well as one of the rookie investor kind of guys. I thought he was wonderful as like this kind of like supportive husband, but like also like you can kind of tell he's like she's really liking this guy that she's going to speak to, and they have this history and stuff. But I thought it was a really wonderful film with some really wonderful messages, and it felt like it was like one of those. Well, it was like, what if kind of things. It could have been part of Marvel's What If actually as well. Could have put it down to 30 minutes and put it out on Disney Plus. But yeah, I thought it was a truly wonderful film, and I'm surprised it didn't get any other accolades in the Oscar as well. I certainly thought, actress wise, I totally forgot about this, but I certainly thought Greta Lee was going to get some sort of nod for that. So yeah, a really, really good film that I'm definitely going to watch again. And it's on Netflix as well, so you can watch it and enjoy it in there. Collie?
Yeah, I love this film. I enjoyed it very much so when I first seen it. And then watched it again yesterday because I couldn't see it on Friday night. It's in Cineworld on Friday night, I think, just past there, but I wasn't able to see it. So rewatched it yesterday, and it's now a 5-star film for me. Absolutely loved it. Yeah, we missed out on mentioning Greta Lee for Best Actress. She definitely would have been a worthy nominee. Yeah, this film, like I thought the end of like La La Land was like one of the most devastating like twists in a love story for me, and I think I spoke to you just about it just before we started recording. That shot from when they leave the apartment, walk down to the curb, stare at each other for about a minute and 15, a minute and a half, and then she walks back and bursts into tears in her husband's arm. That's like 6 minutes or something like that, and it's so slow and deliberate. It's amazing. And just talking about quickly about the direction of the film and stuff. There was like a tracking shot when her and Taeyu's character are walking through the park, and they walk around like a big sweeping path, and it's behind bushes and stuff, but you obviously still hear them talking, and then the camera comes down as they come along around the side of the bush. I just thought that was one amazing shot of quite a lot. It was really good at capturing New York, like in terms of I've seen actually like a little meme or a comparison about it. Do you know when they're down on like the riverside at one point, you can see the city? There was a bit in Amazing Spider-Man 2 with Andrew Garfield and Dane DeHaan, and he's like clambering over the bars and stuff, and it was like, what film did it better? Sort of thing like that made me laugh. But yeah, loved this film, and it's a film I'll rewatch a lot. I've recommended it to a few people. And it's only an hour and 40 or something like that. It's not very long either. And it's good, but it's not a completely foreign language film. A lot of it is in Korean, but obviously there's bits and pieces of English in it. And John Magaro as the husband is excellent as well. I thought he was good because like your heart just breaks for the guy. Because he's like, what does he say again at some point? He's like, are you attracted to him? And she's like, I don't think so. And I'm like, oh God, why she said that? And I did, yeah. But he was, yeah. Every like of the three main characters in this, everyone like was really, really top tier. And yeah, just a very, very devastating film, I think.
Yep.
Todd?
Yeah, there's not much else I can say really. I thought Greta Lee was amazing. I thought the way that they pitched the film at the beginning, where it's a couple, I assume, talking about who are the three people across the bar. Do we know who they are? What are the relationship? And then that look from Greta Lee into the camera should have had her nominated for Best Actress. Just that single look, it was amazing. But yeah, it was a really touching film. I thought she was phenomenal. As like she kept saying about how I think the word Korean has been said the most times in a scene. When he was in that same scene, is he attractive? And she's like, no, he's just so Korean. He's Korean. It stopped sounding like a word eventually. But she was, she was amazing. I think she was so like secure in herself that she could go and see this guy that she felt like she had no interest in. And does she get upset because she misses him as that little lad who's the friend? Does she want to be with him? It was fantastic. The American guy, I can't take myself. He's Leonard in the Umbrella Academy, and that's the
All right, okay,
only
I've never
role
seen that.
I can see him in. Like it's stuck with me with him. But he was fantastic. The lad opposite Greta Lee was phenomenal as well. I'm quite fresh to this because I rewatched it this morning. It was fantastic film, devastating film, and not one that I expected to. And I think that, like you say, that shot at the end of just before she falls into her husband's arms and starts crying was genius. Really
It's the TLU, and he's just like, oh, do you think this and that, and about, do you like, is this us, and are we in a past life now and we're together in another one or whatever? And does she say, I don't know? And then he just looks at her for ages and then just goes, well, I'll see you then, sort of thing. And like, I burst into tears when I watched this in the cinema. I was like, oh, why has he said that? It was incredible film. And like I say, I've recommended it to loads of folk, and I would recommend it to anyone listening. Like, if you've not seen it yet, like, it is on Netflix. It's very accessible. It's an hour and 40. It's a very tight film. It's a very, very tight film. And yeah, worthy of a nominee against. I feel so bad. Like on any other year, like, this could end up being a Best Picture winner and should have been nominated in a lot more. But it's just, unfortunately, not. But films don't need Oscars to be, a 5-star film at the end of the day. And this is one of those that'll always be like that for me, I think.
Fair. Okay, doke. On to the next one, which is Poor Things, and we're on to Collie.
Yeah, well, we've talked about this in pretty much every other category, so not too much to add. I just hope that Lanthimos continues to make films like this. This kind of a kindness that he's already made, that I imagine is going to be released at some point in the near future. I'm really looking forward to that. Yeah, just a top tier film, and not too much else to say apart from just great casting with the main couple of roles. Set design, location, that kind of stuff was top tier, and thoroughly enjoyed this, and it's one that I'll go back to and watch, and a worthy nomination for Best Picture. Todd, what did you think overall?
Yeah, I'm the same. I don't think I can say much more on it. It was a nigh on if not a perfect film, and for one that is off the wall, performances, direction, design, everything was great, and I like the conversations it drums up as well. Like, there's some people who are a little bit upset around, like, there's some controversy of the fact that it's such a heavily sexualized film, and she's got a child's brain, and like, I like those sort of that conversation of, like, you have to separate, like, she's not a child, she's an adult woman, it's a conversation to have that I think is worth having about films that kind of provoke people a little bit, but without being, like we said about Winnie the Pooh yesterday, like, without trying to provoke on purpose, like, without try. Does that make sense? Like,
yeah.
It's a film that provokes because it should, not because you feel like you have to. Incredible. It was an incredible film, and again, one that I'm chuffed I got to see at the cinema, and I hope I get to see on a bigger screen again. Massey?
Yeah, I mean, I don't often give films 5 stars on first watches, but I did on this one. I thought it was just wonderful from start to finish. Has everything going for it. Is, as you say, it drums up, not necessarily controversy, but like there's themes and things in it which are interesting and yeah, get you thinking of stuff. So yeah, again, not one of those that I loved from start to finish. Absolutely. Okay, so the penultimate one here, Anatomy of a Fall. Todd, take it away.
Yeah, it'll join those sort of. I'm not comparing it because I think things like The Big Short, and what was the one about the Boston Globe priest
Spotlight.
scandal?
Yeah,
Spotlight, thank you. Where they sound like very dry films that I don't think this is as good as those. I think they are two untouchable films, but films that sound like they would be dry as sticks and a little bit boring, but because of the direction and the performances and the script itself lend to being absolutely phenomenal. I loved it. I think again, Sandra Hüller is is one to watch. Even though again she's had a career before, like, I'm not saying that she's new to the game, but is absolutely fantastic, and somebody I'll look out for, a name I'll keep an eye out for in the future. Collie?
Yeah, can't say too much more that we've not touched on, to be honest. Just an interesting film. I wouldn't have watched this probably if it wasn't for being nominated for Oscars or being lauded so much. And I get just the ability to transition between like multiple languages in the film. I thought was a really good choice as well. And yeah, I can't say too much more. In fact, that I really enjoyed this. I will watch it again. I rewatched it yesterday, to freshen it, and also just because I wanted to. You know what I mean? It's really really good. And again, just a tight film, and it stands on its own. It stands like worthy against all the other films that are in this category. Apart from Maestro, it's much better than that.
Yeah. Same again. I think when I first watched it, I was like, I don't know if I was fully drawn into it, but like talking about it, I'm like more like, yeah, you know what? Actually, I really enjoyed this, really enjoyed that. So I'll be very interested to watch it again, I think, and kind of be able to look at it a bit broader, I think, especially with knowing kind of what's gone up and stuff as well. Apart from that, the prosecutor guy, absolutely.
I was going to say, like your original Letterboxd, I think you just got blinded by hatred for this guy. I thought he's your bald brethren. You know what I mean? You got to be supporting each other through these struggling times.
Listen, actually, that's why I liked Expendables, because of Jason Statham, wasn't it? So, but yeah, I'm. It's one of those that I'd really like to watch again, and watch maybe on a bigger screen as well. But yeah, no, it was an absolutely fine film. It was a good film, which will be interesting to watch again. Okay, into the final one here. We've gone just over 3 hours again. But we're on to The Zone of Interest is a final one of the Best Picture nominees. So it's myself here. Again, it's tough because in Best Picture we talk about things that we've already spoken about a lot over this 6 hours that we've had, and it's a truly wonderful, horrible, just unique sort of film, and I'm really glad I got to see it in the cinema, especially with the sound design. I'd be very interested to do what you did, Colin, and watch it with headphones as well. And I think that would be some sort of experience as well. But yeah, it's unbelievable. And as I said before, it's one of those that you don't necessarily want to rewatch, like Holocaust films and stuff, but it's one that I want to rewatch just because of how well it's made as well, and how effective it is. Yeah, a truly unbelievable film. Collie?
Yeah, just one of those important films, I think. Not just because of its subject matter, but I think just because of its direction and the way that it's made and the sound design and stuff. Like, even if it wasn't about, if it was about a fictionalized prison or whatever that it was nearby, like, not to belittle obviously the actual subject matter, but I think just from a technical standpoint, it's a very, very solid film. Jonathan Glazer's a great filmmaker. I wouldn't say that Under the Skin's, anywhere near my film of the decade, according to some people, but he's a very, very good filmmaker, and he does stuff very sporadically. I hope he does eventually do a bit more, because his filmography is a bit sparse. But yeah, just a really, really smart dude, and knows how to pull together a very, very solid technical film. Todd, do you want to close on the last Best Picture?
Yeah, just on the cinema thing, I saw it in I think the screen is, I want to say 20 seats. And it's really close to the screen. It's a lovely little set. But so for me, the sound was incredible. I think this will be an Oscar-winning film. I don't think it's going to win Best Picture, but it has to win Best Sound. I think Oppenheimer's the only one that kind of could come near it for Best Sound, but I think it's better than that. Yeah, it was incredible. And like you say, I think it's important. I think it's one of those films that you could show in a school, you could show to people, like, just as film goers, like as a historical thing, and I think it would all matter. There's apparently a documentary that's really good, that's where they talk to the people who lived in the house, and there's some level of truth behind quite a lot of it. So I'm interested to kind of seek that out. But I think as a film that, again, could have been dry, could have been a bit mundane, did a phenomenal job of showing the horrors of what went on without actually showing anything at all. That was brutal.
Yep. Yeah. It's interesting about an Oscar winner for Best Sound. It's also up for Best International Feature Film. Probably going to get that, isn't it? Like, if it's in Best Picture, then surely that makes sense. going to be. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see.
Mhm.
Okay. Is there any? Oh, sorry. Would you? Well, who do you think will win, and what do you want to win? Collie, do you,
Oppenheimer for both, obviously.
you want your best film, your favorite film of all time, to win an Oscar?
Yes.
Oh, Jesus, surprising. Todd.
Yeah, I'm gonna go a little bit. I'm gonna go with. I think Oppenheimer's got it nailed on. I don't think there's any question. I want Poor Things to win it.
Fair.
Uh, yeah.
I'm the same as Collie. I want, and I think Oppenheimer will do it. It's kind of got to in my eyes. So yeah,
I seen an interesting quote saying, someday people will realize Oppenheimer and Barbie should have shared this award because together they saved movie theaters for another generation. I was like, I wouldn't maybe even go that far, but I was like, it's an interesting quote. Yeah.
it is. It is.
Jesus. I do think
Oppenheimer isn't splitting this with nobody.
like June, the June 2's been a massive release. And sorry, I know we run over and we talk about films in the future now, but like it's been massive. But like when I went to see it on opening night the other night in a relatively big cinema, it wasn't sold out. Like, and I just think Oppenheimer for a 3.5 hour job about something that could be dry. You know, it has done a lot to get like asses on seats. Sorry. Yes.
Tune in next year for June 2 talk, all right?
Any films you think that were missed for Best Picture?
Not particularly, to be honest.
I just think if we talk about composite parts, I do think All of Us Strangers. If you're talking that you could have had Best Actor, Best Supporting Actor, Best Supporting Actress in Claire Foy, she was fantastic. Direction, everything like that. I'd like to champion that film a little bit more. And yeah,
And Iron Claw as well, I suppose. If we're
Iron Claw.
spoke about that a couple of times as well. A wonderful film. Okay, I think we've spoke enough. 6 hours worth of recording. I mean, of course, we're super excited about the Oscars, and yes, it is a week today. We're filming on the 3rd, so it's going to be the 10th of March. Starts at 11 p.m. GMT. So it's quite early because last time I think it was like later on. My alarm didn't go off, and I missed like Key getting his Oscar and stuff, so I was absolutely gutted. So yes, if you of course if you have watched any of these, have any thoughts about what the where the Oscars will go, please let us know on Twitter or X at LCD_pod. Just let us know on there. Fire us a message, whether it's on the latest post we've had, and we can obviously discuss it. But of course, let us know in the comments if you're watching on YouTube. And again, if you are watching YouTube, just hit the subscribe button. There's going to be more of this. We do this every month. Are you wanting to announce who we're doing next, or shall we just?
As well, we know what it is. So.
Yeah, sure. So, yes, the next director that we're going to be discussing in the next episode is going to be Mr. Sam Mendes. So I am very, very excited for that. There's some absolute belter films. So yes, that will be our next episode. Be sure to listen to that. So hit subscribe and you'll get a notification when it comes up. And of course, if you follow on Spotify as well, you will get a wee note that our next episode's up. But yes, thank you so much for listening for all 6 hours. I know everyone that's listened to this has listened and watched for the whole 6 hours, and so we really appreciate that. But I had a blast. I think you guys had a blast as well. I'm excited for the Oscars. We'll see what happens, and yeah, it's going to be a fun time. But guys, thank you so much, and we will see you all in the next one for Mr. Sam Mendes. Bye bye.
Cheers, everyone. I'll wait to watch Oppenheimer again. Bye.